Lake Summer Collegiate League title.
Your Xenia Scouts won their first playoff game last night against the Grand Lake Mariners in a very large fashion of a 14-2 victory. It looked bleak in the first 2 innings when Grand Lake put up 2 runs unanswered, but then the Scouts bats woke up in a big way. They scored 4 runs in the third, 3 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 5 in the seventh, and 1 in the eighth to end up winning this game by a score of 14-2. The Scouts now have a different opponent in the Hamilton Joes. It'll be a 3-game series. We will play here tonight at Hamilton, here at Foundation Field, as you can tell by our webcam view. Then we will be back at home at Grady's Field tomorrow night. We thought it was a 2-1 format, but that has since been changed, and it's now a 1-1-1. So if the Scouts want to beat the Hamilton Joes, they're going to have to do it here in some way, shape, or form, whether it's here or in Game 3 in a few days. Hello and welcome out to Foundation Field here in Hamilton, Ohio, as the Scouts will be set to face on the Hamilton Joes. I'm Lance Morris alongside my broadcast partner, Terry Lash. And Terry, the Scouts bats woke up in a major way last night to beat the Mariners.
It was the biggest win of the season, Lance. 14 runs, also the most runs scored in a single team for the Xenia Scouts all year long. Very impressive effort, and just seemed like ever since that third inning, they had things going their way, and the Grand Lake Mariners just had nothing to stop them. They threw a myriad of pitchers, but could not end the Xenia Scouts' hot hitting.
Now we're waiting for the teams to take the field here at Foundation Field. Had a ceremonial first pitch beforehand. And now just waiting on the Hamilton Joes to take the field, and the Xenia Scouts will take their spot in the batter's box.
In the field for the Hamilton Joes on the mound today for the red and white will be Alex Schraffenberger, one of 3 pitchers in the Great Lakes League to get 6 wins this year. Another one being Hugh McGrath of the Scouts. He finished the year with a 6-1 record, a 1.85 ERA, and 47 2/3 of innings pitched. This will be his 8th start. He has 15 strikeouts on the year and only 9 walks. A classic pitch-to-contact type hitter. He has started against the Scouts this season. That was at home here at Foundation Field when the Joes beat the Scouts by a score of 9-3. In that game, Schraffenberger went 7 innings strong, gave up 5 hits, 1 earned run, and 2 walks in that dominant victory. The Scouts 0-4 against the Joes this year. Lost 1 on a walk-off right here at Foundation, and also lost 1 back at Grady's Field, 7-6 on a go-ahead 3-run home run shot in the top of the 9th inning. In the field today for the Hamilton Joes, will start behind the plate with the catcher from Appalachian State, Zach Hummel. In the infield, starting at first base, has Kevin Dupree, the Blue Raider from Middle Tennessee State. At second base, one of a myriad of all-stars for the Joes, Jackson Boyce, the Jaguar from IUPUI. At shortstop will be a Crusader from Valparaiso, Chad Jacob. And at third base, the league leader in home runs, Andy Young, who had 8 this year. The Sycamore from Indiana State moving to the outfield. Starting in left field, we'll have the Bearcat from nearby Cincinnati University, R.J. Thompson. And center, another all-star, Daniel Neff, Marauder from Millersville. And in right field, the second Sycamore in the starting lineup, Hunter Owen, the right fielder.
That's your defense for the Hamilton Joes. We'll have the starting lineup for your Xenia Scouts. For the Scouts, it'll be the first 3 hitters just like it was last night, and Christian Binger playing second base. Kyle Carnahan, one half of the Washburn-Ichabod duo, will be playing third, just like he has every single game, every single inning this summer. And it'll be David Gaunt, the DH for tonight's game. We saw him behind the plate last night. Then at first base, we will see Cale Giddings from Lake Erie College. Then we'll see Zach Wiley, the catcher from Union, getting a little bump in the starting lineup. Usually we see him around 7, 8, and 9, but he's going to be hitting 5th today. Then we'll see Levi Gilcrease. He's in the middle of an 8-game hitting streak after extending that last night. Wyatt Hogan will get the start in left field today for your Xenia Scouts. He comes to us from Hendricks College. Then it'll be Jake McJilton. This will only be his second start with the Scouts. His first start last night couldn't have went much better. Went 3 for 3 with a pair of sack bunts and had a couple nice plays at shortstop to make some big plays for the Scouts on the defensive side of the ball. And then Jonathan Bravo will be hitting ninth, playing right field. He is, of course, from Texas Wesleyan.
And it's a kind of a new team that the Xenia Scouts are pulling out there since the last time they faced the Joes. No Lee Solon at shortstop, no Miles Wright in right field, no Jordan Schaefer either at shortstop or on the mound. So, and giving a kind of a different look to the Hamilton Joes. Schaffenberger gets ready, and he's 6'5", 212 pounds. He has a lot of movement on his pitches and relies on the 7 men behind him to get his outs.
First pitch to Christian Binger. In there for a called strike one, a start time of 7:11.
Christian Binger 4 of 13 on the season against these Hamilton Joes through 4 games.
The 0-1 will miss just low and inside, evens it up at 1-1.
Christian yesterday was 2 for 2, batting 1,000 in the playoffs. Also was walked 4 times.
The 1-1 misses a little low and outside. 2-1 the count now to Christian Binger, the second base from Southwest Baptist. The 2-1 catches the outside corner. That'll even things up at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And Christian, you're going to match, is going to have a patient eye here, even with 1 strike till he's out.
The 2-2. Swing and a miss, and Christian Binger will go down. And I say go down for the first time in a little while, because the last 2 games he had gotten on every single at-bat.
Christian Binger had a 12 at-bat getting on streak. Absolutely unbelievable, whether it be hit by pitches, walks, hits, errors. Christian Binger got on base and now retired from Schaffenberger. That's only his 16th strikeout of the season.
First one to Kyle Carnahan. He shows bunt. He lays it down. Right back to Schaffenberger. And that's going to be just in time. I thought Kyle might have beaten that out, but he will be called out at first.
Very, very, very close play. Schaffenberger took his sweet time there. It looks like originally he was going to have Kyle Carnahan out easily, but took his time, made the delivery just before Carnahan got to first base. And it's interesting because Kyle has another bunt hit single this year. It was right here at Foundation Field against the Joes.
First one to David Gaunt. Catches the outside corner for a called strike one.
And we see that ball dancing in the wind off of the fingertips of Schaffenberger. Windy day here at Foundation Field.
The 0-1. That'll catch the outside corner now for a called strike two as Gaunt falls behind 0-2.
David Gaunt, after his 3 RBIs yesterday, all on a triple with 42 on the season. He's 4 for 14 on the year against the Hamilton Joes.
The 0-2. Wastes one to the outside. 1-2 count now to Gaunt.
David went 1 for 3 yesterday with that triple, as aforementioned, and he had a couple of walks. A lot of walks from the Grand Lake Mariners in yesterday's contest.
The 1-2. Want to pop that one out towards right field. Owen will get under that one, and we'll get it for the final out of the inning. And the Scouts will go down 1-2-3 to start off the ballgame.
Now the Joes throw out their ace, Alex Schaffenberger, and against the hottest part of the Scouts lineup, Christian Binger, Kyle Carnahan, and David Gaunt. He lays in complete control. We'll see if we'll see that same type of action from the Scout starter, Dylan Donnelly, who's stepping on the bump for his first start against the Joes this season.
Dylan Donnelly on the season, 2-1 with a 3.13 ERA. This would be his 10th appearance, his 8th start. Has 46 innings pitched, 36 strikeouts to go with 26 walks. And we saw him come in relief this past weekend against the Galleon Graders because the Scouts had a whole week off of action unless you played in that all-star game. So a lot of the pitchers needed some work, and Donnelly was able to get his out of the bullpen. We've usually seen him as a starter, but is a reliever if need be as well. And he was a closer this past season at Pittsburgh State.
And Dylan Donnelly, in the last part of the season, just seems to get better and better and better. We see it every time we see him on the mound. We saw it against the Graders last weekend. Only gave up one earned run, but that was a really unfair earned run to Dylan Donnelly. As a play where Kyle Carnahan at least saw him conversion between short and third, and neither of the two communicated, and the ball bounced right between the two. It should have been a routine out, and that was just an unfortunate circumstance for Dylan Donnelly, who has been dynamite. Will have to be so tonight against this hard-hitting lineup of the Hamilton Joes.
And last night I was talking to Dylan after the game against the Mariners, and he's been saying for a while how much he's wanted these Hamilton Joes, and he's finally going to get his chance. He was so excited when Coach Cates told him he was going to get the ball to start today.
He wants them, now he got them. You have to expect Will Cruz will most likely come in for relief later in today's game.
First pitch to Daniel Neff will be up high for ball one. Daniel Neff will be the leadoff hitter today for the Joes, one of their few All-Stars.
After Daniel Neff will be Jackson Boyce and Kevin Dupree at the plate.
The 1-0. I want to miss up high again as Donnelly will fall behind 2-0 to Neff.
5 All-Stars in this Joes starting lineup.
The 2-0. Swing and a miss there from Neff. It'll put it to a 2-1 count.
Yeah, 6 All-Stars, the same as the Xenia Scouts. It's tied for the most between two teams in the league.
The 2-1. Drops in there for a called strike two. Evens it up at 2-2 to Neff.
A good work for Dylan Donnelly, fighting his way back. Dylan has a fastball, likes to work on his changeup.
2-2 will just miss a little inside. It'll work it to a full count, 3-2.
As we saw some off speed right there. Has a little bit of curve on his ball, and he'll be working on painting the corners.
3-2. That one will miss just up and inside. He will walk Neff to start this game.
The second baseman.
Dylan Donnelly has struggled with walks this season. He had 26 to end the regular season, which would be third most in the league. And that's how he starts off this ball game with the speedy Daniel Neff sitting at first.
Now Jackson Boyce will step into that left-handed batter's box to take on Dylan Donnelly.
Neff has 18 stolen bases on the season.
First one to Boyce is Neff's on the move. Wiley's going to throw, and it's going to actually get past Christian over at second, but that'll result in Neff staying at second base with yet another steal, his 19th on the season.
And that's going to be a hard throw for Zach Wiley behind the plate because McJolts nor Christian Bing are nowhere near the bag, and he has to throw it right away because Daniel Neff is on the move. He's throwing at a spot where no player's at, and no one can get to the ball in time.
Next one will miss a little up and outside to Boyce. Boyce up on Dylan Donnelly 2-0, just as Neff was. The 2-0. Fouls that one down the left field line. That'll drift out of play.
Boyce, the all-star second baseman, the Jaguar from IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis. 6 for 17 against the Scouts this season. Played in all 4 games.
The 2-1. That'll catch the inside corner for a called strike two. Evens it up at 2-2 to Boyce.
The 1 through 7 batters for the Hamilton Joes batting .327 and above. A team that can definitely swing the sticks.
The 2-2. Now one will be popped up out of play. We'll do it again at 2-2.
And Jackson Boyce is part of what we used to call Murderer's Row between Jackson Boyce, Andy Young, Jake Zimmerman, and Hunter Owen. But Murder Row is no longer betting over 400, but it's explained to about a murderer's neighborhood.
The 2-2. Misses that one up and inside again. That'll be the second straight full count.
Kevin Dupree on deck. He's batting .376 on the season, second on the team in batting average.
3-2 counted, Boyce. It's going to be grounded towards Cale Giddings at first. He's going to take that himself for out number 1, but that does advance Neff to third.
And now Daniel Neff, the speedster at third base. Anything that the new batter Kevin Dupree hits the outfield, unless it's about mid-range for Levi Gilchrist, will most likely result in a run for the Joes.
Kevin Dupree will be up to the plate for the Joes, the number 3 hitter for the Joes today.
Only 3 for 9 on the year against the Scouts.
First one to him is going to be chopped towards first base. They're actually going to then rule it foul.
Went off his foot. Normally would have been a clean hit. It was interesting. I took a weird hop and went from out of fair territory or into foul territory into fair territory, something you don't see very often. And the reason for that, there was a spin on the ball because it hit the Nike cleats of Kevin Dupree. And we already saw on that play, Daniel Neff was on the move from third to home. Very aggressive base runner, and shown by his now 19 steals on the season.
So Dupree down 0-1 to Donley. The 0-1. Just misses inside, evens up at 1-1.
Donley has pitched against the Joes once this year. Only pitched 2/3 of an inning in relief on 2 relief efforts for Donley.
The 1-1. And that's going to be grounded in towards right field for a base hit. That will score Neff for the first run of the game. Joes take a 1-zip lead.
And just like that, it's 1-0 Hamilton. This has been a comeback team, the Xenia Scouts, recently, including last night, coming back from behind after struggling early to get their victories.
Andy Young now up to the plate. Another one of those myriad of all-stars for the Joes. First one to Young. Misses low and outside. Nice stop from Wiley behind the dish.
Andy Young batting 6 of 13 on the season against the Xenia Scouts.
They're going to check on Dupree over at first base. He's back in time.
Young with 36 RBIs on the season. 8 home runs.
And then we'll catch that outside corner. To Young, evens it up at 1-1. And Donley will step off.
Young had home runs in the first and second games against the Xenia Scouts back at Grady's Field earlier this year.
The 1-1. Thought about that one, but laid off. That'll be ball 2. 2-1 the count to Young.
One of those included a go-ahead 3-run shot, which the Scouts lost that game 7-6.
They'll check on Dupree once again. He's back in plenty of time.
Only 1 stolen base on the season, or excuse me, 2 stolen bases on the season for Dupree.
Line just over the hand of Christian Binger. That'll get into center field for a base hit. They're going to actually keep Dupree on the move. He'll get all the way to third, and now runners at the corners with 1 down off the hit from Young.
So some more trouble for the Xenia Scouts, and it doesn't get any easier as the player who is second in the league in batting average, the Scout killer Jake Zimmerman, comes to play 9 for 17, batting over 500 against the Scouts this season, and that includes a homer.
Zimmerman at the plate with the runners in the corners. First one to him will catch the outside corner for a called strike one. Zimmerman will be the DH for tonight, was the MVP of the All-Star game a little more than a week ago. The 0-1. Just fouls that one back, and Zimmerman will fall behind 0-2.
In that game, we saw what we've seen all season long from the Hamilton Joes. 2 long balls, one off the bat of Zimmerman and one off the bat of Andy Young, who's sitting on first base right now.
0-2 count to Jake Zimmerman. The 0-2. And that one's blooped out towards short right field. That'll just drop into foul territory for a foul ball.
So a big chance for a strikeout for Dylan Donley. Get maybe the best batter on the team out, and they'll set up 2 outs and 1 away, and even potentially 2 runners stranded. That'd be a big way to end the bottom of the first inning.
0-2 count to Zimmerman. They're going to check on Young at first base. Is in there without a tag applied from Cale Giddings.
Dylan Donley, who I've said all season long has the best pickoff move on the team. Very quickly, the righty goes from the stretch to first base.
The 0-2. He'll waste one to the outside. Tries to get Zimmerman to chase. It'll be a 1-2 count.
On deck for the Joes will be Chad Jacob, who we haven't seen much this season, but is batting 327 on the year.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss, and Zimmerman's going to go down on strikes, and he didn't like the swing he put on the ball as he seemed to be a little down on himself after that swing.
That's a big strikeout for Dylan Donnelly, who has been a K master as of late. That's when he gets one here in the first inning. Now one more out, and that's going to do it for the inning for the Joes. So a big chance right here for Dylan Donnelly to dig in and try to get at Chad Jacob and limit the damage.
Chad Jacob now comes to the plate, playing shortstop. First one has popped up right over my head as I was getting ready to catch that.
Yeah, you bring out our gloves for your up top here at the Hamilton Joes press box. That's one that might just fall down on the webcam.
1-1 count now to Chad Jacob. Comes to us from Valpo. The 0-1. And that one will be hit into right field for a base hit. That one will score Dupree and advance Young to second. The Joes take a 2-0 lead.
Big hit from Chad Jacob on the 0-1 count. Exact same hit we saw from Andy Young and Kevin Dupree all going to that right field area. Dylan Donnelly now will be facing Hunter Owen, who is 5 for 15 against the Scouts this season.
Hunter Owen now up to the plate. Runners on first and second. First one to him is lined out towards center field. Levi Gilcrease will range over to that one and get the out for the final out of the inning, but not before the Joes take a 2-0 lead off of an RBI from Dupree and an RBI from Chad Jacob, their shortstop.
And it's so hard for a pitcher because there is no weak spot in the starting 7, 327 and above. And then the last two hitters, Zach Hummel and RJ Thompson, will come out in the bottom of the second inning, but in 282 and 295. There's just no weak spots at the dish for this Hamilton Joes lineup. Dylan Donnelly is going to have to come up with his very, very best stuff of the season, and the Scouts want to get the victory here against the Joes. Again, Xenia 0-4 against Hamilton this year. That includes a walk-off right here on Foundation Field. The Joes have been the Achilles heel for the Xenia Scouts. The Navy and Gray just haven't had an answer for them all season long. You know that's got to stick in their minds and gives them a bit of sour taste on their tongues.
So now we're getting set for the top of the second inning here at Foundation Field here in Hamilton. Scouts trail the Joes by a score of 2-0 after that top of the first inning. Scouts went down 1-2-3, so we'll have Cale Giddings set to lead things off for the Scouts.
And after Cale Giddings, it'll be Zach Wiley, the catcher, and Levi Gilcrease, the center fielder. Yesterday, Cale Giddings went 0 for 3, but did have a couple of walks, including one that scored a run. Zach Wiley did not play, and he's 0 for 2 in the season against the Hamilton Joes. And then Levi Gilcrease yesterday extended that hit streak of a 2 RBI double. He was 1 for 5 on the day. And 0 for 11 against the Joes this year, trying to get that first hit. He does have a walk against the Joes in those 4 games, or 3 games actually. Levi Gilcrease, who's played 40 of 41 games this season. The 1 game he missed was against the Hamilton Joes.
Cale Giddings digs into that right-handed batter's box. First one to him. Big swing and a miss on that one. He couldn't quite catch up to that one.
Schaffenberger is not going to blow it by you, but it's just there's so much movement off his ball, and it's really hard to get wood on the stitches.
The 0-1. And Cale will leave that one alone to the outside. He evens it up at 1-1.
Cale 1 for 4 on the year against the Joes. Did have a double right here on Foundation Field.
1-1 will miss into the dirt. 2-1 the count.
That double went to deep left center field and bounced off the wall.
2-1. And that one's in there for a called strike 2. He evens it up at 2-2 to Cale.
Dimensions here at Foundation Field, 330 both to the left and right dead, and then 390 to dead center.
2-2. This is that one a little up and away. That'll be a full count. First one we've seen from Schaffenberger.
And good patient at bat for Cale Giddings.
The 3-2. Grounds that one right back up the middle. That'll be a base hit. First hit of the day for your Xenia Scouts.
And what a way to get the rally going. The big man brought his axe. Paul Bunyan now standing on first base. Good job from Cale Giddings working to a full count. And then sends the payoff pitch right back up the gut. Now it's up to Zach Wiley to see if they can keep it going. They need momentum in the top of the second inning, down 2-0. Would love to answer back against the Joes after that big first.
First one to Zach Wiley will just miss inside. Wiley hitting a modest 145 on the season.
Again, didn't play yesterday, so well rested.
The 1-0. That one's in there for a called strike one. 1-1 the count to Wiley, and something he told us back at the start of the year, he was just trying to work himself back into playing shape after having missed the entire spring. The 1-1. Pops that one out towards right field. That one will drift just out of play, and that'll make it a 1-2 count to Wiley.
Bounces by the stands over there. Zach Wiley started one game this season of the 4 against the Hamilton Joes. Did come in as a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 9th inning, or top of the 9th inning, excuse me, right here at Foundation Field. In that game, he was walked.
1-2 count to Wiley. Cale Giddings on first. That one's popped out towards left field. And Thompson will get under that one for the first out of the inning as Cale will scamper back to first.
Very sunny day here in Hamilton, Ohio. Definitely have to bring out your shades.
Which Terry didn't do.
I didn't do, but again, I'm not trying to catch a fly ball in left field, which R.J. Thompson was just able to do. So that might be something we have to see how the players deal with the elements.
First one to Levi Gilcrease will show bunt, lays it down, but it'll pop into foul territory.
And one thing that we've noted all season long, when the Scouts are bunting well, all the Scouts are bunting well. When they're bunting poorly, all the Scouts are bunting poorly. We saw one laid down by Kyle Carnahan earlier. Not the best, not the worst bunt in the world. Let's see if Levi Gilcrease tries again.
A 1 count to Gilcrease. The 0-1. That'll be in there for a called strike 2 as Gilcrease falls behind 0-2.
Last time Levi was here at Foundation Field, he struck out 3 times in his 4 at-bats. Again, Levi 0 for 11 on the season against the Joes.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, and Gilcrease will go down on strikes.
Another strikeout for Schraffenberger, which once again, not his foray, not his forte. He's only had 15 coming into the contest. Now with 2 on the day against the Navy and Gray.
Wyatt Hogan now coming up to the plate with now 2 down here in the top of the second. Scouts trail 2-0 to the Joes. First one to Hogan. That one's in there for a called strike 1.
White had a big game yesterday, went 2 for 4. It's also a hit by a pitch. He's 0 for 8 on the year against these Joes.
Swing and a miss at that one into the dirt, and Hogan will fall behind 0-2.
Again, regardless of today's result, we'll be back at Grady's Field tomorrow at 7:05. This is the best of a 3-game series. It's 1-1-1.
The 0-2. That one will be center field. That one will drop in for a base hit in front of Daniel Neff, and the Scouts will have runners on first and second for Jake McJilton.
Great job by Wyatt Hogan, working after going down quickly 0-2. Just a nice little blooper, and the bloopers have been a friend to Wyatt Hogan recently. He's not always the best hit balls that are going to get you on base. We've seen a lot of well-hit balls from Wyatt this season that just fall into the gloves of some opposing defenses. But that time, nice little blooper puts him on first.
McJilton up to the plate, went 3 for 3 last night with a pair of sacrifice bunts.
Would have been last night's player of the game.
First one, McJilton is lined out towards left field, and that one's going to drop in for a base hit. That one's going to score. Cale Giddings and the Scouts now cut the lead down to 1. They trail 2-1.
And McJilton stays perfect. He's betting 1,000 for the playoffs and his Xenia Scouts career. Jake McJilton has been with AIA this whole summer. Started off with the Dominican team. Now moving on to the Xenia Scouts and replacing Lee Solomon, and he's provided some great relief.
Jonathan Bravo now will come up to the plate with runners on first and second as the Scouts trail 2-1 after that RBI single from McJilton. First one to Bravo. And that one's a line way, way, way out towards left field and that one will drop just foul down that left field line.
Jonathan Bravo has had some success against these Hamilton Joes, one of the few players on the team. 6 for 16 on the season against Hamilton, including a 3 for 4 night right here at Foundation Field. And was just barely, maybe a foot away from tying up the ball game.
Do you remember if that was against Straffenberger?
I could look it up.
We'll find that out for you. The 0-1. Just fouls that one back into the netting in front of us, and Bravo will now fall behind 0-2.
Again, it's a big spot for Bravo with 2 on, trying to tie this game up. Again, the Scouts recently have been able to answer when the other team goes up first.
The 0-2. That one's lined out towards the right field. Owen will camp under that one, and will complete it for the final out of the inning, but not before the Scouts narrow the deficit just a little bit. They now trail 2-1 after the top of the second.
And that was against Straffenberg when Jonathan Bravo went 3 for 4. And it is 1-2 now. Scouts trailing, but you have to think just such a tough break, and we've seen the Scouts have been on the other side of those games this year where everything's falling inside of that foul line. And they've been on games where they can't get anything to drop in the line. This time, the first bad break goes to the Xenia Scouts. Jonathan Bravo was hit just missing that left field foul line right in front of the Joe's bullpen. That was able to hit the white. That's definitely going to send home Wyatt Hogan, who is left stranded.
So now Dylan Donnelly getting ready for his second inning of work here against these Hamilton Joes. The Scouts trail these Joes by a score of 2-1. They just put one on the board in the top half of the second inning off of the bat of the red-hot Jake McJilton, who is perfect so far for his Scouts career.
Got a golden bat, batting 1,000, 4 for 4, and 2 perfectly laid down sac bunts. Also yesterday had a nice play at shortstop. Was going to be yesterday's player of the game. Unfortunately, when the Wi-Fi gave out, our broadcast ended. And once again, our apologies for not being able to give you the full game last night. Thank you for sticking with Lance Morris and myself, Terry Lash. Now here in Foundation Field for our MiFi hotspot, we'll definitely be able to get you all 9 innings or more. Who knows?
It's a very distinct possibility. First one to Zach Hummel, the catcher from Appalachian State, is in there for a called strike 1.
Zach Hummel 3 for 7 against the Scouts on this season.
The 0-1. That one's also in there for a called now strike 2 as Hummel falls behind 0-2.
And Dylan Dowling going right down the pipe, throwing no bones around. All business.
The 0-2 will miss up high for ball 1, 1-2 the count. And if you're Dylan, you're probably very aware that these last 2 hitters are people you definitely want to get out when you have the chance.
And the only 2 batters on the team not batting at least .327.
The 1-2 swing and a miss, and Hummel will go down on strikes for the first out of the bottom of the second.
And Dylan Donnelly seemed like he put a little more emphasis on his fastball in the first at-bat of the bottom of the second inning, going right at Zach Hummel. And that brings up R.J. Thompson, the lone member of the Joes who has struggled against the Scouts this season. 1 for 14 through 4 games against Xenia.
First one to Thompson in there for a called strike 1 as Donnelly had to actually jump and catch that one from Wiley on the throwback. Thompson
doing well against the rest of the league, though, batting .295 on the year.
The 0-1 just misses inside as Thompson was a little too close to the plate, and Donnelly will now back him off a bit. The 1-1 grounds that one towards Kyle Carnahan down at third. He'll get that one over to the outstretched Cale Giddings for out number 2.
And you said it, Lance, you have to get the 8-9 batters out when you face them. It's the only players on this team that probably won't hurt you every single time they're at the plate, and that's what Dylan Donnelly does. A very professional outing for his first 2 batters. Now here comes Daniel Neff, who walked to start off this game on a 3-2 count, and then was able to come around and score after he got his 19th steal of the season.
First one to Neff, just catches the outside corner on a nice break from Dylan Donnelly. The 0-1. And that one will miss for ball 1-1 when the count to Daniel Neff, the center fielder from Millersville University.
Batting .361 on the season as the All-Star.
1-1 swing and a miss. He will fall behind 1-2.
Dylan Donnelly doing a good job of switching up his pitches, something he's known for amongst the team, going from that changeup and then his fastball. A whole lot of different speeds being thrown out there by the righty.
1-2 swing and a miss, and Dylan Donnelly will get these Joes to go down in order 1, 2, 3 with a pair of strikeouts to end the bottom of the second.
So half of the outs recorded by the Scouts so far have been on strikeouts for Dylan Donnelly, who's up to 3 on the contest. Dylan Donnelly wasn't striking out batters at a torrid pace until we got to July 10th when he got 6 against the Copperheads. That was the most he had this season. Then exploded for 11 in that 8-0 win against the Lorain County Ironmen. That was the most for a Scouts pitcher this season. And then had 5 in his last game against the Galleon Graders in only 4 innings. Already has 3 through 2 tonight. Looks like he's trying to continue that streak as we see a meeting with Coach Bubba Cates in the Scouts dugout. Maybe try to get him some words of emphasis as we are back to the top of the order for the Xenia Scouts here in the top of the 3rd inning.
We'll be back to the top of the order as soon as we start off as top of the 3rd. And if you're Coach Cates, you got to relay the message to these guys that they're not unbeatable, although the Scouts have not beaten them this summer. We've seen other teams able to beat the Joes, and that's something the Scouts just haven't been able to do. They also had the misfortune of playing them right when they were at their hottest, right in the middle of the season.
And they had a 9-game winning streak, one of the biggest winning streaks of the season for any teams in the Great Lakes League. And now we're here at the top of the order. Christian Binger, 5 by Kyle Carnahan, and David Gaunt in the hole.
First one to Christian Binger will miss low and outside for ball 1, and Christian struck out in his first at-bat, something we don't see from Christian very often. The 1-0 will miss just inside, makes it a 2-0 count. And the 2-0. That one will miss just up top, makes it a 3-0 count to Binger, and we know who we'll be taking on this next pitch.
I would bet my life on that, Lance Morris.
A 3-0. That one will catch the outside corner for a called strike 1-3 and won the count to Binger.
Just barely getting in with Christian having 38 walks on the season. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw him take on 3-1 as well.
The 3-1. And he's going to line that one out towards right field, but that one will be caught by Hunter Owen right near that wall, right on that warning track. That one was nicely hit. Just a nice play from Owen out and right.
One of the most well-ripped balls we've seen all season from Christian Binger at the warning track to around 340 in right field, but the All-Star Hunter Owen had a beat on it, played it perfectly. If he had a single misstep, it would have bounced over his head. And now Christian Binger 0 for 2.
First one to Kyle Carnahan. Swing and a miss on that first pitch.
Kyle's first event, we saw him lay down a bunt on the first pitch and was thrown out just barely from Schraffenberger. This time around, his more traditional swing at the dish.
The 0-1. He'll ground that one foul back towards the Joe's dugout as Carnahan falls behind 0-2.
Last time we saw the top of the order back in the first inning, the Scouts went down 1-2-3. Something very tough to do against Christian Binger, Kyle Carnahan, David Gaunt, the 3 best on the team in terms of batting average.
The 0-2. And that one's hit out towards center field. Neff's going to run under that one and get to it for the second out of the inning.
Schraffenberger's going to give up pitches that you're going to be able to put into play, but that's what he wants. He wants you to get under it, send it in the air so Daniel Neff can camp under and make a can of corn catch. So now 2 down for the Scouts, and David Gaunt, who flew out to Hunter Owen in right field last time he was up to the plate.
David Gaunt now up to the plate playing DH for today's contest. First one to Gaunt. Curves, but doesn't curve into that zone. That'll miss for ball 1.
Gaunt with 7 homers on the year.
The 1-0. That one will be low for ball 2-2. Another count to Gaunt.
I think that may be the first pitch we've seen in the dirt all game long from Schraffenberger.
2-0 count to David Gaunt, one half of the Washburn Ichabod duo. The 2-0. And that one will miss again. And Gaunt now is up 3-0 in the count.
With Kale Giddings sitting on deck, and Kale hit a grounder right up back the middle for a single on his first at bat.
The 3-0. In there for a called strike one. Makes it a 3-1 count to David Gaunt. And the 3-1. And that one's lined into left field just over the head of Andy Young for a base hit. That'll be Gaunt's first hit of the day.
Fourth hit of the game given up by Schraffenberger. Remember, he only gave up 5 hits total through 7 innings against the Scouts in his first start, in which he got the victory. Now Ori has 4, so Xenia definitely has a better read on the lefty Schraffenberger in today's contest.
Kale Giddings up to the plate, got a hit in his last at-bat. First one will be in there for a called strike one. Scouts trailing these Hamilton Does 2-1. We're in the top of the third inning. The 0-1. This is low and inside for ball one. 1-1. The count to Kale Giddings comes to us from Lake Erie College.
Kale Giddings scored the lone run for the Scouts in today's contest. Worth the count to 3-2 before he singled it up the middle.
The 1-1. That one misses up and away. Looked a little bit like a pitch out. 2-1 the count to Kale.
David Gaunt with 1 steal on the season, but not someone known to run on the base pass. He has also caught once this year.
2-1. And that one's hit on a rope down that left field line. It'll drift foul, but if Kale straightens that out, that'll be his first homer of the summer.
Yeah, that hit one of the fences back out there, maybe a shed, as we see a row of houses to left field. Remember, Kale Giddings did have that double off the wall here at Foundation Field, so hasn't been very far off from that first homer right here in Hamilton.
2-2 the count to Kale. The 2 down, David Gaunt on first. The 2-2. Grounds that one back up the middle towards Chad Jacob at short. Now flip that one over to Dupree in time for out number 1. So David Gaunt gets on with a 2-out single, but that'll be all she wrote for the Scouts in that top half of the third.
So another runner left on base, and through 3 innings, the Scouts have left 3 on and still trail 2-1.
All right, Joe fans, it's time for the Foundation Field Chicken Dance.
Now Dylan Donnelly will be getting set for his third inning of work here against these Hamilton Joes, and he's going to have to go right through the middle of that order. Jackson Boyce will lead things off for the Joes, and it'll be Kevin Dupree, the first baseman, and Andy Young, the third baseman. Like we said earlier, there's no spot you particularly want to throw to in this Joes order. They have the 8-9 batters in Zach Hummel and R.J. Thompson, but they're still very capable hitters.
Yeah, looking right here, Jackson Boyce 327, Kevin Dupree 376, and Andy Young 333. Not many intentional walks will be given out to the Hamilton Joes this year, because what's the point? The guy behind us is probably batting over 300 himself.
So we'll see what Dylan Donnelly can do here in this third inning. He was able to set down Zach Hummel, R.J. Thompson, and Daniel Neff. 1, 2, 3 was able to get Hummel and Neff to go down swinging.
And we'll keep looking at both these teams' bullpens. Again, we'll probably see Will Cruz in relief later tonight. We live with Will Cruz, and we've had some talks of him throwing out of the pen. Doesn't really like it as much. Has said that he's a much bigger fan of starting on the mound, but tonight will be coming in the pen to spell Dylan Donnelly at some point in this game. We'll have to find out when.
We think that. We don't know that for 100% fact, but it just depends on how far Dylan can go in this game. If Dylan can go 6-7 strong, then there's probably no need to go to Will. But if he struggles in these next few innings, more likely we see Will for extended time.
And we're not sure who tomorrow's starter is back at Grady's.
First one to Boyce will be a little chin music there for ball 1.
Just barely misses clipping that elbow of the lefty.
The 1-0. That one misses inside again, and Donnelly will fall behind 2-0 to Boyce.
There's a chance John Crawford, another Scouts All-Star, starts tomorrow at home, but again, not sure. We'll keep you updated.
The 2-0. Misses that one up high, and Donnelly falls behind. Now 3-0 to Boyce, the second baseman from IUPUI.
Donnelly does have 1 walk on the day.
3-0 will miss just outside for ball 4, and he will walk Boyce on 4 straight pitches.
The last time Dylan Donnelly started off the inning with a walk was back in the bottom of the first inning where the Joes put their 2 runs on the board.
Kevin Dupree will come to the plate, had himself an RBI single. Last time he was up, that scored Daniel Neff. First one to Dupree is ground towards Christian Binger at second. He's going to flip it over to second for 1, and they'll go over to first. Not in time. So on the fielder's choice, they are able to get out the lead runner, but just miss getting that double play.
Yeah, what a play by Christian Binger. Looked like he was stumbling backwards, somehow able to turn around 180 and throw it to Jake McGilton in time to get the lead out.
Andy Young now up to the plate, had himself a base hit single his first time up. First one to Young. Misses up high for ball 1. The 1-0. That'll break into the zone for a call. Strike 1. 1-1 the count to Andy Young, the third baseman from Indiana State University.
It's a good switch having Jackson Boyce to now Kevin Dupree on first base for the Scouts.
The 1-1. That one breaks just a tad outside, makes it a 2-1 count to Young.
And I say that because Kevin Dupree on the year with 2 stolen bases. Jackson Boyce on the season with 16.
The 2-1. That one just misses a tad low for ball 3-1 the count to Young.
Young now 7 for 14 on the year against the Xenia Scouts, batting .500.
The 3-1. That one's popped high up in the air, out of play. I thought that one might make a chance of getting up to us up here, but it's going to fall way behind us and make it a full count, 3-2.
What's our best course of action in that situation? We're just looking up at it. We're not really doing anything about it. We're going to be in a lot of trouble. If my laptop breaks, I'm going to be very disgruntled.
The 3-2, and that'll be a walk as Dupree was on the move, and unless that'll be a walk, I'll put runners on first and second for Jake Zimmerman.
Now 2 walks this inning for Dylan Donnelly. That brings up Jake Zimmerman, a guy you don't want at the plate with runners on. Jake Zimmerman on the season has been deadly in that situation. He has 24 RBIs on the year. If I remember correctly, his home run against the Scouts was a 3-run home run.
Sounds accurate.
I was back at Grady's Field in the second game of the 4-game season series between these two teams.
First one is Zimmerman, a breaking pitch that'll stay up top for ball 1.
Dylan Donnelly's been struggling with his control here in the bottom of the third inning. Needs to try to keep this lead, or excuse me, this deficit at 2-1.
The 1-0. Swing and a miss there from Zimmerman, and that'll make it a 1-1 count. And actually have a score update from Simmons Field in Lima, Ohio. The Lima Locos on top of the Lincoln County Settlers 2-0. They're in the bottom of the 4th.
Settlers got into the second round of the playoffs after beating the Southern Ohio Copperheads yesterday on the road 6-3.
The 1-1. Swing and miss there again from Zimmerman. He falls behind 1-2, and keep in mind, Donnelly did strike him out in his first at-bat.
Donnelly blowing by him with the heater. He's had some gas on his recent pitches, especially against Zimmerman.
The 1-2. That one is low and outside. Makes it a 2-2 count to Zimmerman with runners on first and second with just 1 down here in the bottom of the third. Scouts trail 2-1.
Interesting note between that game between the Settlers and Locos. 5th straight time in a row. 5 straight seasons those teams have faced each other in the Great Lakes League playoffs.
The 2-2. Swing and a miss, and Zimmerman's going to go down on strikes for the second time in a row to Dylan Donnelly. That'll be Donnelly's 4th strikeout of the day.
And that's, again, a great way to get you out of a tough spot. Last time Dylan Donnelly was here, he had runners on first and third when Zimmerman was at the plate. Now runners on first and second, same result, a strikeout. And now Chad Jacob out to the plate. The last time he was up, he had an 0-1 single to right field and gave the Joes their second run of the day.
That's going to be lined out towards center field, and Levi Gilcrease, and he'll get under that one for the final out of the inning. So Donnelly has a little damage out there that he caused himself with a couple walks, but able to work around it to minimize everything in that inning, and the Joes don't score any runs. The Scouts still trail 2-1 after 3.
And now with the 2 left on first and second, and Kevin Dupree and Andy Young, 4 runners left on islands today for the red and gray. Joes in their home red with black numerals and yellow trimming, with the gray pants with a red seam down the side. And of course, the Scouts in their road navy and gray. As Schraffenberger comes out to the bump here in inning number 4. We're zooming along here in the first of these 3 playoff games. Well, potential 3 playoff game series between the Scouts and the Joes. So it's a race to 2. Who can get to deuces first between the Scouts and the Joes and advance to the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League Final?
All we know is that sometime tomorrow, one of these teams is going to have their back up against the wall at Grady's Field, and it'll be a chance for the other team to take out the other team. We say other team because it just depends who wins here today.
Really interesting to see the matchup between those Locos and the Licking County Sellers. Remember, Sellers, 3-time defending league champions. Looks like they weren't even going to make the playoffs the last time the Scouts played them a couple weeks ago. Got hot at the end of the season. Lorain County Ironman absolutely fell off who they were fighting with for that final spot. Got some help with the Lake Erie Monarchs, who decided not to compete in the Great Lakes League tournament. Got the 5 seed, beat the Copperheads, and now we'll have to try to dispel the Locos again this year. Make that 4 years in a row where they would beat the Locos and try to get number 4. Locos coming into tonight's contest, winners of 8 straight. One of the hottest teams, if not the hottest in the Great Lakes League.
First one to Zach Wiley. Gets the outside corner for a called strike one. Interesting note back to the Locos and Settlers game. Unless they throw Boucher on short rest, they will miss Boucher. The 0-1 will be into the dirt. Makes it a 1-1 count to Wiley.
And Zach Wiley flew out to left field last time he was up. Starts off the side here on the top of the 4th, followed by Levi Gilcrease and Wyatt Hogan. Levi struck out last time, and Wyatt Hogan had a bloop single to center field.
The 1-1. Swing and a miss there from Wiley. Couldn't quite catch up to that one. That ended up in the dirt. 1-2 to count.
And that's a 1-2 count last time when Zach Wiley flew out to left field. Zach again getting the 5-hole slot tonight.
The 1-2. Lines that one down the right field line. That'll go foul towards that tarp out there in right field.
Joey Levin hanging out there by himself will retrieve the ball.
It's a weird spot to just kind of be chilling.
Yeah.
There's not even a bench over there.
No, Joey's doing his own thing.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss, and Wiley's going to actually just tip that back, as looked like he completely missed it, but apparently just got a piece of that one.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. As Hummel apply the tag, and we're going to have an appeal to first base, but I think Schraffenberg is kind of thinking what we're thinking up here on top of the press box, that Zach didn't get any part of it. We didn't hear the bat make any contact, but we'll be given new life. Zach definitely did play it cool.
The 1-2. He'll ground that one towards Jacob at short. He's going to bobble it a little bit and just gets it over to first base in time. I don't know about that one.
Very close play. Chad Jacobs somehow able, after bobbling the ball, to pick it up, throw it to Dupree at first in time. Zach Wiley actually made a 360-degree circle in frustration after the call. But again, we thought he might have struck out earlier. It might have been a makeup call from the first base umpire.
First one to Levi Gilcrease. Will miss outside and low for ball 1. Levi, the center fielder, comes to us from Baylor University.
After a strikeout earlier today, he's 0 for 12 against the Joes this year. Desperately looking for that first hit.
1-0. We'll just get a piece of that one. Tips that back. Evens it up at 1-1.
Levi trying to continue that 8-game hitting streak he's on right now.
The 1-1. Big swing and a miss at that one low. And Gilcrease will fall behind 1-2.
Levi came into the postseason batting .247. Batting very well these last 2 weeks. Was down about 180 at one point this year.
The 1-2. Wastes that one to the outside. Evens it up at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Levi. And the 2-2. And that one's going to pop out of play. We'll do it again at 2-2.
So a good at bat from Levi Gilcrease after going down on 3 strikes in his first at bat. Staying alive with a couple foul balls here, even up at 2-2. Trying to give the Scouts a spark here in the top of the 4th inning, down 2-1.
The 2-2. That one's lined right back up the middle. Schraffenberger had to duck to make sure he didn't get hurt by that one. Gilcrease will now extend that to 9 games in a row for a hitting streak.
Yep, number 9, and that is the 5th hit of the day given up by Schraffenberger, which would tie as many as he gave up in his last start through 7 innings against the Scouts. Levi Gilcrease does lead the team in steals with 13. Will be tied with Lee Solomon, who's no longer with the squad. See if he tries to swipe a base here. We've already seen 1 stolen base today from Daniel Neff with the Joes.
First one to Wyatt Hogan is hit way back towards left field. That one's going to die right at the wall, and that's going to be caught. And I thought that one had a chance of getting out, and I think so did Wyatt Hogan, and that's just been the epitome of his season.
At the wall, a jumping catch by R.J. Thompson. There's a tough break for Wyatt Hogan. He can't hit that one much better. Off the bat, it looks like that one might be gonzo. Levi Gilcrease is already to second, but it just hung up a little too hard. Maybe the wind played a factor in it as well.
Must have been the wind. They're actually going to throw back towards Gilcrease at first. Jake McJilton now up to the plate. He's 4 for 4 this season with the Scouts. Has a couple sack bunts as well. They throw back to Gilcrease again. He's in there in time.
And interesting to see if we see Levi Gilcrease with a steal attempt even with 2 outs. Very aggressive base runner. There he goes.
He's on the move as that one misses outside to McJilton. And Gilcrease is going to be in there with a stolen base. This is now 14th this summer.
And that leads the team. Sole possession of the stolen base category is Levi Gilcrease, and now in scoring position for Jake McJilton, who already has the Scouts' lone RBI today. And he brought home Cale Giddings back in the top of the 2nd.
The 1-0. That one misses just low for ball 2. 2-0 the count. Two 2-0 count to McJilton with Levi Gilcrease on second with 2 down. 2-0. That one's lined out towards center field. And that'll be the first time McJilton is set down without it being a sacrifice to end this top of the 4th. Gilcrease gets on with a base hit, but has ended up stranded at second after stealing second base.
You have to think about an unfortunate break for Wyatt Hogan. 330 to left field in most ballparks in the league. That one is a homer. Maybe here, Lorain County, possibly in Southern Ohio, and that's it. Everywhere else. That was Wyatt Hogan's first home run of the season. Now he's got the trot to left field. Clearly with that in the back of his mind. And the righty, Dylan Donnelly, set to go for his 4th inning of action. And Lance Morris, he brought up an interesting point earlier. If Dylan can go late into this ball game, maybe we see Will Cruz starting tomorrow. Again, we have no clue. Will Cruz, John Crawford possibly. Maybe Ben Aldridge getting a start. We don't know. So you have to stay tuned tomorrow at 7:05 back at Grady's Field.
Yeah, there's a couple different options we have as far as starters go. I actually got the chance to talk to Coach Gates after the game, but if he had any set starting pitching rotation in mind, he basically said point blank, he doesn't really know.
And we don't either, and we'll try to let you all know. Thank you for following Xenia Scouts on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. And if you haven't already, shame on you, first of all. Second of all, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And, of course, check XeniaScouts.com every night for game recaps.
First one to Hunter Owen is fouled back into the netting after Terry calls out every single Xenia Scouts fan who's not following us on social media.
Yeah, they should get on that.
They really should. But what if they don't have a social media account, Terry? Then what are they going to do? The 0-1 will miss low and outside. Makes it a 1-1 count to Owen. One of two guys in the starting lineup from Indiana State. 1-1. That one will just miss. That one actually bounced off of Wiley's glove. 2 on the count.
Owen flew out to center field last time. That ended that big bottom of the first inning for the Joes.
The 2-1. And that one's lined out towards center field. Gilcrease will run back to it, and it'll just fall over his head. And no one's going to be safe at second. He's going to round second, actually, and that one's a nice throw, but he's going to be in there in time at third. A triple from Hunter Owen just because it was barely out of the reach of Levi Gilcrease in center.
And you have to think of a throw like that. It might have been better to throw it to the cutoff man. If McJilton gets that ball, maybe he can throw it to Carnahan in time. Instead, it one-hops, and Hunter Owen slides in with the leadoff triple. Joe's trying to extend this 2-1 lead they already possess here in the bottom of the fourth inning.
Now Zach Hummel will come up to the plate. He struck out his first time up. That was back in the second inning. First one to Hummel. That one's going to be popped out towards short right field. And Bravo's going to call everyone off, and they're going to, at one point it looked like he was going to run, but a nice throw from Bravo will keep Owen down at third.
Great play by Jonathan Bravo as him, Christian Binger, and Kale Giddings all absolutely on a dead sprint towards the ball. Jonathan Bravo, who started most of the year at left field, now in right field after the injury to Miles Wright. Able to call everyone off and make a nice play towards home. And that did keep Owen at bay at third after threatening to tag up.
RJ Thompson now up to the plate. Time is called behind the dish.
Infield playing way in now.
First one to Thompson. Just gets a piece of that one back towards the glove of Wiley. He falls behind 0-1.
Thompson grounded out to Kyle Carnahan at third last time he was up. Again, imperative that Donnelly gets out these 8-9 batters.
The 0-1. That one will miss just barely. Makes it a 1-1 count to Thompson. Comes to us from the University of Cincinnati. The 1-1. That one just misses a tad low. Donnelly bringing the heat on that one. And he falls behind 2-1.
That's the sum against the set here at Foundation Field.
The 2-1. That one's going to be lined right back to Christian Binger, and that will keep Owen right there at third. A much-needed second out.
That one just lasered right to the glove. Christian Binger didn't even have to get out of a squat to put that one away. Just moved his glove down a fraction. And now the Joes down to the last out of the inning. Daniel Neff at the plate 0 for 1 today. Struck out to Dylan Donnelly last time he was up. Also did walk to start off this ball game for the Joes in the bottom of the first.
First one to Daniel Neff will miss up and away for ball 1. Neff 0 for 1 today with a strikeout in the second and a walk to start off this contest. The 1-0. This is outside in the dirt. Nice stop from Wiley to make sure Owen stays down at third.
About a medium range backstop here at Foundation Field, but definitely deep enough that a pass ball is going to score Hunter Owen.
The 2-0. That one just misses a tad above that belt. Makes it a 3-0 count to Neff.
Again, Daniel Neff was walked in the first inning before he came around to score one of the two Joes runs.
The 3-0. That one's in there for a called strike one on the fastball from Donnelly.
Neff on the year with now 10 walks on the season.
The 3-1. That one's just going to miss a little high, and that will be the second time Neff gets to walk to first.
That makes number 11 for walks for Daniel Neff, and the fourth walk of the day for Dylan Donnelly through 3 2/3. And that now sets up force outs at second and first base for Jackson Boyce, who's 0 for 1 today. But he also walked last time he was up. That started off the the bottom of the third inning. That was on 4 straight pitches from Donley.
First one to Boyce. He shows bunt, pulls it back. It'll be ball 1.
Runners were on the corners when Dylan Donley got out of the bottom of the first inning. Would love to repeat that performance here. Joes have stranded 4 so far.
The 1-0. And they're going to throw back to third, and that time Neff was on the move towards second, but they're going to throw at third to make sure they keep Owen right there at third and keep them from scoring another run.
A stolen base for Daniel Neff, his second of the day, 20th of the year. Smart play from Zach Wiley, because you think if he goes 2, that's going to score Hunter Owen. Daniel Neff probably had that one anyway.
2-0 is going to be popped out of play. Makes it a 2-1 count to Boyce.
2 runners have been left on in scoring position. One of them, Kevin Dupree, who's on deck right now. The other, well, both of them were Kevin Dupree, who is on deck right now in the first and third innings.
The 2-1. That one just misses that inside corner as Donley falls behind the Boyce 3-1.
First base is open. You have to think Donley doesn't want to walk Jackson Boyce or Kevin Dupree, who already has an RBI single in today's game.
The 3-1. Fouls that one back into the netting. That'll be another full count to Boyce, and he had a full count back in the first inning before he grounded out to Cale Giddings.
Dylan Donley, I believe, his 4th full count of the afternoon. The others have resulted in either walks or a single, or besides the one from Boyce.
3-2. And that one's going to miss just barely for ball 4. That'll be the 5th walk of the day for Donley.
So now Dylan in a rough spot. After giving out the leadoff triple to Hunter Owen, has walked 2 batters with 2 outs. And now it's up to Kevin Dupree as we have a meeting of Coach Bubba Cates and the entire infield and Zach Wiley from behind the plate. So game kind of in the balance right here. 2-1 game in the bottom of the 4th inning. Scouts right in it, but a big shot from Kevin Dupree will bust this one wide open with Alex Schraffenberger on the mound, the Joe's ace, and his 1.85 ERA. Might be a little too much for the Scouts to come back from as we see Joe Chasen warming up in the Scouts bullpen. Joe Chasen we normally see in a closing role, but against the nearby Cincinnati Steam twice this season, we've seen him come in about mid-game and provide some good action. His 2 wins on the year came against the Steam, where he went 3 2/3 in one, and I believe 2 2/3 in the other. Now Joe Chasen might be the first man up. Yeah, move that I think has surprised both Lance and myself.
Now Kevin Dupree comes up to the plate. He's 1 for 2. Had a base hit RBI in the first and grounded into a fielder's choice. It was almost a double play in the third. First one to Dupree. Misses up high for ball 1.
One thing Dylan Donley definitely cannot afford to do is walk home 1 run.
The 1-0. Swing in a miss from Dupree. Evens it up at 1-1.
Last time Dupree was up, he hit a hard hit grounder right at Christian Binger, who had a nice play, flipping it to Jake McJilton for the force out. And put away Jackson Boyce.
1-1 count to Dupree comes from Middle Tennessee State. The 1-1. That one's popped high up in that infield. Kyle Carnahan is going to come to it and get to it for the final out of the inning. So the Joes get the bases loaded after a triple from Owen and a couple walks to Daniel Neff and Jackson Boyce. But nonetheless, no runs come across the board. Scouts still trail, though, by a score of 2-1 after 4.
And I consider this a John Crawford-esque performance. Dylan Donley getting himself into a lot of trouble due to walks, but able to work his way out of them compared to Crawford to a magician this year after being able to get his way out of jams time and time again. Dylan Donley doing so there after giving up a triple on the first at-bat. Very hard to not give up a run after a leadoff triple. Eventually walked the bases and then was able to work his way out of it. So we head to the top of the 5th inning. Scouts trailing 2-1 still. And coming up here in this top of the fifth will be the 9-1-2 batters, Jonathan Bravo, who flew out to right field last time, just barely missed a double to left field. Couldn't find that left field foul line by mere inches, maybe a foot. Christian Binger will be following him. He is 0 for 2 today. He flew out to right field last time as well. And then Kyle Carnahan, who is also hitless, he flew out to center field. And Daniel Neff last time. So not a hit yet from the side of Scouts. See if they can change their fortune here in the top of the fifth inning.
Score update from the other game in the Great Lakes League, because there are only 4 teams left now in the league. The Lima Locos on top of the Licking County Sellers by a score of 3-0 there in the top of the 6th inning up at Simmons Field in Lima.
Again, thank you for listening to Lance Morris and myself, Terry Lash. Especially all the host families on home have made this summer possible.
First one, Jonathan Bravo will be in there for a called strike 1. Now the 0-1. Grounds that one back towards the Joe's dugout, and Bravo now falls behind 0-2, just like he did in his first at-bat.
Bravo, the Ram from Texas, Wesleyan. Came today by 6 of 16 against the Joes, now 6 of 17, 258 season average.
The 0-2 will be wasted out towards the outside and low. 1-2 count to Bravo. The 1-2. Swing in and miss on that breaking pitch, and Bravo wasn't able to catch up to that one. That'll be his first strikeout of the game.
And third from Schraffenberger, who has 1/5 of his season's total.
It's the beer batter. The second baseman, number 4.
With 3 in tonight's contest, only had 15 on the year. This is his 8th start, so through 7 games, only had 15.
Christian Binger now to the plate. First one to him will miss low for ball 1. The 1-0. Just misses off that outside corner as Binger jumps ahead 2-0.
And you're trying to get walk number 39 of the season. Would love to start off maybe a comeback 5th inning.
2-0 misses up top. Makes it a 3-0 count to Binger.
We haven't seen a walk yet from Schraffenberger.
The 3-0. And that'll be the first one as Binger will walk to first base, his 39th strikeout of the season. Or strikeout walk of the season. He's not going to strike out that many times.
Nope, only 23 on the year for Christian Binger. And that brings up Kyle Carnahan. 0 for 2 today. Grounded back to Schraffenberger on a bunt attempt in the first inning and flew out to center last time on an 0-2 count. Tying run on first.
They're going to throw it back to Binger at first base. He's going to be back there in plenty of time. First one to Carnahan. He's going to pop that one out just into the short part of right field. And that one will be caught by Boyce for now the second out of the inning.
Now Kyle Carnahan 0 for 3. They're going 0 for 4 yesterday, still looking for his first hit of the playoffs. That brings up David Gaunt, who ripped a single to left field last time he was up. He's 1 for 2. David's playing designated hitter tonight. Came in the postseason batting .322. Christian Binger on first with 7 stolen bases on the year.
They're going to check on Binger at first. He's again back in plenty of time.
We did see Levi Gilcrease steal earlier today. Zach Hummel behind the plate has a pretty good arm. We've seen a few times this year.
First one to Gaunt will catch the outside corner for a called strike 1. The 0-1. This is that one low. 1-1 the count to David Gaunt.
Gaunt had a 3-1 count last time he was up. He has the second most walks on the team for the Xenia Scouts.
And they throw back to Binger at first. He's in there in plenty of time without a tag applied from Dupree.
David had 21 walks in the regular season and had 2 yesterday.
The 1-1. Just got a piece of that one. It actually bounced into fair territory, but off of someone's body part. Couldn't quite tell whose. That was Hummel's. Okay.
That's off the inner thigh of the right leg of Zach Hummel.
See, I say I didn't know, and you say in the inner thigh and the right leg, going all specific on me.
I have my eye on that one. Now, Scouts down to the last strike here in the top of the 5th inning, down 2-1. David gone. No one else you'd want at the plate. Now the team's leading batter, the team history leader in both RBIs and home runs.
The 1-2. That one's hit on a rope out towards right field, but Hunter Owen will get under that one for the final out of the inning. So Christian Minger gets on with a walk, but he will be stranded here in the top part of the 5th. Scouts still trail 2-1.
And the Scouts are averaging a runner left on per inning. Still trying to tie this one up, down 2-1. Their best chance was back in the second where they scored the lone run of the game off of the bat of Jake McJilton, new shortstop for the Xenia Scouts, who flew out for his first out as a scout. That didn't result in a sacrifice back in the 4th. Maybe we'll see him in the top of the 6th inning, but we're still here in the bottom of the 5th with Dylan Donnelly walking back on the mound, throwing his warm-up pitches. Dylan Donnelly giving up 2 runs on 4 hits only. Last hit came back in the 4th inning. That was a triple from Hunter Owen, who is left stranded on third. The Joe stranded, the bases loaded back in the bottom of the 4th inning. Now coming up to the plate for the Hamilton Joes will be Andy Young, Jake Zimmerman, and Chad Jacob. Young walked last time. Zimmerman has struck out both times to today's contest, and Chad Jacob flew out to Levi Gilcrease in center. Andy Young 1 for 1 as he steps to the dish.
Bottom of the 5th, leading things off for the Joes. It's the third baseman, number 30, Andy Young.
Andy Young now coming up to the plate for the Joes. First one to Young. Misses low and inside for ball 1.
Again, Joe Chase is still out there in the Scouts bullpen with Lincoln Reed.
The 1-0. Misses again, just barely. 2-0 the count to Young. The 2-0. Thought about that one and holds up, but it's in there for a called strike one anyway on the outside corner. The 2-1. That one's flown out towards center field. Levi Gilcrease will get under it and convert the catch for the first out of the inning. And Young got on his first time with a hit, got on his second time with a walk, and that'll be the first time he's set down today.
And that's a great first out for Dylan Donnelly. Andy Young, one of the most intimidating players in the league with his 8 home runs that lead the league, second in RBIs, only to David Gaunt. That's a great way to start off the bottom of the 5th for Dylan Donnelly.
Jake Zimmerman out to the plate. First one will miss low and inside for ball 1.
Zimmerman came today batting .390, but struck out both times against Donnelly.
The 1-0. Catches the outside corner for a called strike 1. 1-1 the count to Zimmerman. Again, he has struck out twice today. That was from Otterbein.
Where he batted over 400 in the spring, the Cardinal from Otterbein.
The 1-1. Now it's going to be popped way, way, way up into the sky. And Dylan Donnelly is going to take that one himself for the second out of the inning. And Zimmerman, one of the best hitters in this league, has been set down all 3 times today.
Only Cole Gordon of the Lima Locos, who's in action right now, had a better batting average at the end of the year than Jake Zimmerman as Chad Jacob comes to the plate. He is 1 for 2 today with one of the 2 RBIs for the Hamilton Joes. Kevin Dupree owns the other one. Flew out to center. His last at-bat did the lefty.
First one to Jacob will miss inside for ball 1. The 1-0. This is up and outside for ball 2. 2-0. They count to Chad Jacob, the shortstop from Valpo. That one's going to be lined out of play. Makes it a 2-1 count.
We've seen a number of good shortstops in the Great Lakes League from Valparaiso. Jeff Edwards of the Lorain County Ironman, an all-star, another notable player.
The 2-1. That one's lined out towards center field. Levi Gilchrist running towards it. He will take that one himself for the final out of the inning, and that's a great way to get through the middle of the lineup, getting them all to pop out. 1, 2, 3. It started off with Andy Young, and they had the same fate with Jake Zimmerman and Chad Jacob.
So through 5, we've seen a great performance from Dylan Donnelly, absolutely sitting down these Hamilton Joes. The second 1, 2, 3 inning of the ball game. We're heading to the 6th. Scouts still down 2-1. Going to have to provide that run support they desperately need. As they only have 1 run here through 5 innings.
We'll see Straffenberger out here once again. This will be his 6th inning of work. Here as the Joes are taking on the Xenia Scouts. The Scouts trail by a score of 2-1. The Joes put 2 on the board in the first inning. The Scouts came back with 1 in the second inning off of the bat of Jake McGill. And then we've seen zeros on the board ever since for both sides.
And we have a quick scoring update. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning up at Simmons Field in Lima, Ohio. The Locos still holding on to that 3-0 lead over the Lincoln County Settlers. Again, that series also best of 3. So they'll be in Newark tomorrow at Don Edwards Field for the 3-time defending champion Lincoln County Settlers. Might be a shot for their reign to end if the Locos win tonight and get the victory on the road tomorrow. And these 2 teams, the Scouts and the Joes, will play back at Grady's Field on the field turf tomorrow at 7:05. Lance Morris and myself, Terry Lash, will have coverage of that game as well as we start off the top of the 6th inning. Cale Giddings, Zach Wiley, and Levi Gilchrist. Your side for the Scouts. Cale grounded to shortstop Chad Jacob last time he was up.
First one to Cale will miss inside and low for ball 1.
And we're not missing Giddings by much.
The 1-0. And that one's in there for a called strike 1. 1-0 the count to Cale comes to us from Lake Erie College. The 1-1. That one misses low for ball 2. 2-1 the count to Cale.
Straffenberger has given up 5 hits in today's contest.
The 2-1. That one misses just outside, makes it a 3-1 count to Cale Giddings.
And he's had a full count before his first single of the ball game.
3-1 will miss up way high, and Cale will walk to first base. That'll be just the second walk of the day for Straffenberger.
Straffenberger only had 9 on the year, so we don't see many walks out of him. 7 starts on the season for Straffenberger, only 9 walks, so just barely over 1 per game. Now with deuces, that brings up Zach Wiley, who's 0 for 2. Grounded short last time.
First one to Wiley, shows bunt, pulls it back, and that'll be ball 1.
Coach Case definitely thinking small ball here in the top of the 6th, trying to make this a tie game, trailing 2-1 with the big man Cale Giddings on first.
The 1-0, Wiley shows bunt again, pulls it back, and that misses for ball 2 as they fake out a throw to Cale at first.
And we have seen Cale picked off before on second base. That was this weekend against the Graders. Cale Giddings have to watch his lead over there. And Zach Hummel won't be faking next time.
2-0. And he shows bunt, gets it down, but it'll pop back foul. Makes it a 2-1 count.
Second 0 for 4 on the year against the Joes. Flew out to left field in his first at-bat.
2-1, shows bunt, tries to lay that one down, and it'll pop back up. And that makes it a 2-2 count.
So we will most likely not see Wiley throwing out the bunt here. The Bulldog from Union University in Jackson, Tennessee. Zach Wiley, a Memphis native. And a big spot against the Hamilton Joes.
2-2. That one will miss into the dirt. I think that one might have actually bounced in front of the plate, and that'll be a full count, 3-2. And the 3-2. That one's going to be lined out of play. We'll do it again at 3-2.
This is only the second full count of the ball game. The last one back in the top of the second inning to Cale Giddings when he had that single right up the middle.
The 3-2. That one's hit on a rope out towards the right field. Hunter Owen will go back and just makes the catch. Hunter Owen has been making good catch after great catch out there in right field.
The outfield for the Hamilton Joes has been phenomenal. There's no other way around it. That was a well-hit ball, opposite direction from Zach Wiley. The long outstretched arm of Hunter Owen somehow able to corral that one. That looked like it to be serious danger, maybe a double for Wiley. But again, just falls for an out. You guys got to give a hat tip to Hunter Owen out there in right field, the All-Star.
This one to Levi Gilcrease will be lined out towards center field, and that one will be put away by Neff for the second out of the inning.
So just like that, the Scouts went to 1 on with no outs to 1 on with 2 outs on 2 pitches. Zach Wiley flies out on the full counter. Then Levi Gilchrist, first pitch swing, put a good swing on the ball. Cut to the center field into the awaiting glove of Daniel Neff. So now is up to Wyatt Hogan, who had a big swing last time he was up. Almost homer to left field before it was caught at the wall from R.J. Thompson.
First one to Wyatt Hogan. In there for a called strike one right down the middle. The 0-1. And that one's going to be popped out of play, and Hogan will now fall behind 0-2, and that's what happened when he had that base hit single back in the second.
You'll have to repeat the performance here with the Scouts down to the last strike of the inning. Alex Schraffenberger having great support from his defense throughout the game. No errors for either of these teams.
The 0-2. That one's lined down towards right field, and that'll be another catch from Hunter Owen, and the Scouts get Cale Giddings on with the walk, but then go down in order with Wiley, Gilcrease, and Hogan.
So back-to-back innings, a player walks on, but is stranded on first base. It was Christian Minger in the top of the 5th. Now Cale Giddings in the top of the 6th, and through 6 innings of at the plate for the Scouts at least, they have left 1 runner on base every inning at that average of 1 per, with their 6 left on base tonight. They're going to have to get some runs home if they want to tie out the Hamilton Joes and avoid going 0-1 in this 3-game series. As Lance mentioned earlier, whether it be tonight or on Game 3, if the Scouts are able to win tomorrow, if losing tonight, they're going to have to get a victory here at Foundation Field for the first time this season if they want to advance to the league championship.
So why not just streamline that process and win here tonight?
Yeah, it might help it out a little bit. Try to finish it at Grady's Field tomorrow.
Scouts do trail by a score of 2-1, and it's been a real back-and-forth game. People have gotten on for each of these sides. They haven't been able to put runs on the board, but each team has done their own bits of significant damage.
Have Joe's coming all the way back in the first inning when Daniel Neff was singled home from Kevin Dupree after he stole second base. Kevin Dupree was singled to third from Andy Young, and then Chad Jacob sent him home. Then Dylan Donnelly has put himself in some dangerous situations, but is able to work out of it ever since. And we're still tied at 2-1 in the bottom of the order.
This one to Hunter Owen. His line just foul down that left field line.
Hunter Owen had that sliding triple on his last at-bat. That one was some serious danger if it would have been able to kiss the left field foul line, maybe in that triple territory.
The 0-1. Misses just outside, evens it up at 1 ball, 1 strike to Hunter Owen, the right fielder from Indiana State University. The 1-1. Misses up and outside, 2-1 the count to Owen.
1 for 2 today, 5 for 15 coming into today against the Scouts.
2-1. Hounds when he popped over our heads, evens it up at 2-2.
Dylan Donnelly with 4 strikeouts on the afternoon. Would love to get number 5 here.
The 2-2. And that one's actually going to plunk Owen, and he's going to walk down to first base. That's actually the 11th time he's been hit by a pitch this season.
There should be as many as Kyle Carnahan, the third baseman for the Xenia Scouts. But players not strangers to being beaned. And again, that leads off the inning for the Hamilton Joes with Hunter Owen on base as the lights come on here at Foundation Field.
Zach Hummel now up to the plate. Shows bunt. And puts someone right down in front of the plate. And Wiley's actually going to fumble with it, but gets it over to first in time for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, the thing, that's just because Zach Hummel wasn't hustling. Must have thought he was going to be thrown out earlier. Didn't realize Zach Wiley was struggling with the ball at the plate and then was thrown out. So it is a sack bunt, but could have easily been a bunt single for the catcher, who's still 0 for 2 today.
You got to think, that was probably just about anyone else on the Joes, that probably would have been a base hit single.
Yeah, Zach Hummel probably the slowest player at the starting 9 as R.J. Thompson comes to the plate. He's 0 for 2 today. Hunter Owen in scoring position at second.
Just one to Thompson. Fouls that one back just over our heads again. He falls behind 0-1. The 0-1. And that one's in there for a called strike 2 as Thompson falls behind 0-2 to Dylan Donnelly.
And we've seen Donnelly in positions before with 1 out and runners to score in position. A strikeout eases off some of that pressure a little bit on the bump.
The 0-2. Just misses a strike 3 call, and it makes it a 1-2 count.
It was a late break, but it could not have missed the top part of the zone by very much. Thompson might have been fortunate on that call.
The 1-2. That one misses up high on the high cheese from Donnelly. 2-2 count now to Thompson.
And that's a good job from Thompson holding off of it. Very easy pitch to swing on the high heat with 2 strikes against you.
The 2-2. That one will miss low and outside, and Thompson was down 0-2, works it back to 3-2.
Donnelly already with 5 walks on the contest. Does not want to walk the 9-hole batter. R.J. Thompson is 0 for 2 today. As
time will be called.
Dylan Donnelly steps off the mound. I saw him shake up a few pitches from Zach Wiley behind the plate. See what they're going to come up with here.
The 3-2. Now it's going to be popped up. That one looks like it'll stay in the infield. And McChilton will get to that one in time. And that was actually a closer play than you'd think at second, as Owen took just an extra split second to get back to second.
Yeah, and good play by Christian Binger. Might as well get on the bag. Underhand toss from McGilton. Might as well try it. Almost got Hunter Owen sleeping. Got back to the bag in time, but now we're at the top of the lineup for the 4th time today. And Daniel Neff was 0 for 1 with a pair of walks and a pair of steals.
First one to Neff. And that one's hit on a line out towards left field. Wyatt Hogan getting under that one. And will complete the catch for the final out of the inning. So Donnelly hits Hunter Owen to start the inning. But after that, he gets the guys to go down in order with Hummel, Thompson, and Neff to end the bottom of the 6th. The Scouts still trail 2-1.
And both of these teams have left runners on base, but now the Joes, after that inning, have left 8 on compared to the Scouts' 6, including about 4 in scoring position. As we finally have a pitching substitution. We thought it would probably come from the Scouts first, but Alex Schraffenberger taken out of the game after going 6 innings. Trying to figure out who's on the mound for the Joes now.
Looks like maybe 15.
Joes fans, your attention, please. Now pitching for the Hamilton Joes out of the University.
19 is Cameron Ross.
Number 19, Cameron
The
Ross.
Bearcat from the University of Cincinnati. He's a righty.
The bullpen has been brought to you by Bridgewater Falls AAA Auto Club.
Now Straffenberger ends his day after 6 innings of solid pitching. Only gave up 1 earned run on 5 hits, so back-to-back starts against the Scouts were only 5 hits given up by Alex Straffenberger. Had 3 strikeouts, which is very high for him, 2 walks. And he got a lot of help from the 7 men standing behind him, especially Hunter Owen there in right. As we head to the top of the 7th, Scouts still trailing 2-1. But more on Cameron Ross. He has a 3.05 ERA on the season. He's pitched 17 2/3 innings. Not that many, but a very deep pitching staff here for the Hamilton Joes. He has 23 strikeouts compared to only 5 walks. He has a 2-0 record and 1 save. He hasn't started a game yet this year. This will be his 13th appearance, all out of the pen.
First one to Jake McGilton will be outside for ball 1.
You can definitely see the heat off of the hands of Cameron Ross. He's a fireballer.
The 1-0 will be in there for a called strike 1, and that's probably what the Joes like to do, pitch him after Straffenberger, who throws much, much slower than Ross does. The 1-1. Swing and a miss there from McGilton. He falls behind 1-2.
And definitely something McGilton's not used to in today's contest. 1 for 2 is Jake with the team's lone RBI. Now to try to catch up against Cameron Ross, the Bearcat.
The 1-2. That one's going to be grounded back up the middle. Jacob will try to get to it, and it'll just plop off of his glove, and McGilton will be safe at first.
I'll see if that's ruled an error or an infield single. And that will be ruled an infield single for Jake McGilton, who's now 2 for 3 today. Jake McGilton continues his absolute monster postseason in his first games with the Xenia Scouts as Jonathan Bravo comes to the dish.
First one to Bravo. Shows bunt, pulls it back, but it's in there for a called strike 1 anyway.
Again, Scouts thinking small ball. Jake McGilton, a very speedy shortstop. Love to get him in scoring position with Christian Binger on deck right now.
The 0-1. Bravo lays down the bunt. It'll just plop foul. It'll fall behind 0-2 again.
Something we mentioned all the way back in probably the second inning. When one Scouts player has trouble bunting, they all have trouble bunting. We saw Zach Wiley having trouble laying down some bunts. Now seeing Jonathan Bravo laying down some bunts. Levi Gilchrist couldn't leave one down earlier, and then Kyle Carnahan was out on his bunt attempt.
The 0-2. And that one's hit on a line down towards left field. That one will drop for a base hit in front of Thompson. Scouts have runners on first and second. Now for the leadoff man, Christian Binger.
And who needs bunts when you can just hit screamers into left field like Jonathan Bravo just did?
The second baseman, number 4.
That tells you all you need to know.
Now after the pitching change, Cameron Ross gives up 2 hits to start off the top of the 7th inning. And at the top of the Scouts order, Joe's in some serious trouble here. Christian Binger now up. He walked last time, 1 of 2 walks on the day for Straffenberger. It was his 39th of the season.
I think that Young is ready for a potential bunt by Binger to try and advance both of the runners. First one to him, will show bunt, pulls it back, and it'll be outside for ball 1.
Both Dupree at first and Young on third, playing in the grass before the pitch even.
The 1-0 shows bunt again. Drops that one down, but it'll pop back foul, just as we've seen with just about every single bunt attempt so far.
Scouts haven't had 2 runners on base since back in the 2nd inning when both Wyatt Hogan and Jake McGilton, who's on second right now, were left stranded.
The 1-1 shows bunt, tries to lay it down again, and it goes foul, and Binger falls behind 1-2.
Again, struggling bunting at the plate of the Xenia Scouts, but last time after Jonathan Bravo had 2 foul bunts, he ripped one into left field. Christian Binger, who flew out to right field, Hunter Owen a couple times ago back in the 3rd inning at the wall, has shown his power potential as the lefty.
The 1-2. Almost missed just outside for ball 2. We definitely see Christian with a lot of composure up there at the plate, taking pitches that he maybe shouldn't even be taking.
Nerves of steel at the dish with 2 strikes against him.
The 2-2. This is outside again, and it'll be worked back now to a full count, 3-2.
And Kyle Carnahan is on deck. He's 0 for 3 today, 0 for 7 in the playoffs, but has 7 home runs on the season. Not a guy you want to face with bases loaded and no outs.
The 3-2. That one's going to be grounded towards Boyce at second. He's going to go to second for 1. And they will get Binger out at first with a double play, but that will advance McJilton to 3rd.
A perfectly placed 4-6-3 double play from Boyce to Jacob to Dupree. Looks like they've been practicing that one all season long, just moving fluidly off of the gloves of the Hamilton Joes. Couldn't do that one any better. Tough break for Christian Binger on the full count. Now Kyle Carnahan in a big spot with 2 outs against him now. McJilton on 3rd. Scouts can't afford to let the tying run be stranded.
So that brings up the suddenly struggling Kyle Carnahan over his last 7. First one to Carnahan. This is low and outside for ball 1. Nice stop from Hummel to keep McJilton at 3rd.
Yeah, that saved the game. That was the tying run coming home. If Zach Hummel lets that one skid in the dirt back to the backstop.
The 1-0. Big swing and miss there from Carnahan. He couldn't quite catch up to that heater from Ross.
And we've seen pretty consistent pitches from Cameron Ross, and that's a fastball. He likes to throw the heater, tries to find the strike zone. We haven't seen him deviate from the pitch very much.
The 1-1. Another big swing and a miss from Carnahan as he falls behind 1-2.
He's going to find a way to catch up to the fastball. He's got us down our last strike. Have averaged a runner left on base per inning. Desperately want to avoid doing so here with McJilton on 3rd as the crowd begins to stomp their feet and come alive.
The 1-2. Grounds that one just past a diving Andy Young at 3rd. The Scouts have tied the game 2-2.
What a clutch hit from Kyle Carnahan. Mr. Hot Corner hits it to the hot corner. Andy Young just couldn't corral it in his glove. I think it tipped off the top of his leather before it bounced into left field. And that was a 2-2 ball game, folks. What a play. And Jake McJilton has driven home a run, has now scored a run after he started this inning off with an infield single.
David Gaunt now up to the plate for the Scouts. It's a 2-2 ball game here in the top of the 7th. First one to be in there for a called strike, one on the outside corner to David Gaunt, his Washburn Ichabod teammate Kyle Carnahan on first.
David Gaunt, who's 1 for 3 today, single back in the 3rd inning. Flew out to right last time.
The 0-1. Grounds that one towards Young down at 3rd, but that'll drift into foul territory.
Oh, Cameron's working quickly on David Gaunt. Naked Boss on the work back from 0-2. David Gaunt's the team leader in batting average, .322 coming to the playoffs. 1 for 3 yesterday, got on 3 times. He also had a couple of walks, second on the team in walks. Also tied for 7 home runs with Kyle Carnahan. Both of those Scouts records that Ichabod share.
The 0-2. Fouls that one back into the netting behind us. He's not too far off of that fastball from Ross.
Yeah, I think that was a little outside the zone, so good job from David Gaunt extending the bat enough to get the bear on the ball and foul it backwards, staying alive at 0-2.
The 0-2. That one will miss in the dirt. Carnahan's going to advance to second on that one that Hummel just couldn't corral in time.
And heads up base running from Carnahan on the pass ball. Now a single to the outfield. The Scouts could take the lead here in the top of the 7th inning.
So 1-2 count to David Gaunt. Kyle Carnahan on second base with 2 down. We're in the top half of the 7th inning. It's a 2-2 ball game. And just a lot of staring going on right now.
Gaunt calls time at the plate. I have anticipation for this 1-2 pitch from Cameron Ross.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss, and Gaunt will go down on strikes, but not before your Xenia Scouts tie this ball game up at 2 apiece after the top half of the 7th. And we're going to see some more of Dylan Donnelly on the hill.
So they will leave a runner stranded the 7th time this game, but I don't think Coach Cates is really thinking about that after the RBI single from Kyle Carnahan evens up the game at deuces apiece to get through the 7th inning stretch. And Dylan Donnelly, we did not, at least I did not think he would be pitching here in the bottom of the 7th inning. I thought we'd see a 2-headed monster between him and Will Cruz in this game, but it's been Dylan Donnelly's show. Lance mentioned how Dylan said he wanted these Hamilton Joes, and he got them, and he's performed very, very well against the Joes, only giving up 2 earned runs. He struggled to start off the game in the bottom of the 1st inning, where the Joes scored both of their runs, but it's been all Dylan Donnelly ever since, putting up a lot of zeros on that scoreboard. The Scouts have had a heartbreak here against the Hamilton Joes. They were walked off. That was the 4th straight loss to the Joes, and that was around a month ago.
And we see some Scouts now as we see Thomas Wanning walking down to the bullpen out of play, but there's some people out there in the bullpen for the Scouts, but no one is up and throwing currently.
You know, we saw Joe Chase throwing earlier, Thomas Wanning heading out there, potentially see Tony Campbell in this ball game, but as of right now, it's Dylan Donnelly's show.
The second baseman, number 10.
And we'll be right in the middle of the order for the Joes. Jackson Boyce will lead things off for the Joes here in the bottom of the 7th.
Now, 5-4 walk-off loss to the Joes was on July 1st to start off the month.
First one to Boyce will miss up high for ball 1.
Jackson Boyce has been walked from Donnelly his last 2 at-bats, last one on a full count.
The 1-0. This is that one just outside. 2-0 the count now to Boyce.
Jackson Boyce has a small strike zone, one of the shorter players on the team. Quick scoring update. The Lima Locos now lead the Licking County Settlers 5-1 in the top of the 8th inning.
The 2-0. That one's in there for a called strike 1. 2-1 the count. Drew Jackson Boyce, the second base from IUPUI. Now the 2-1. Misses a little outside. 3-1 the count to Boyce. The 3-1. And that one will miss low in the zone, and that'll be another walk. That'll be the 3rd time today that Boyce gets a walk to first base.
3 straight times for Jackson Boyce. Now 6 walks for Dylan Donnelly on the night. Coach Case now taking a walk to the mound. We've already seen him. We don't see him calling to the pen quite yet, so I have to think he's going to keep Dylan Donnelly in the game, but definitely very wary. Doesn't want things to go from bad to worse here in the bottom of the 7th inning after the Scouts just tied the ball game up at 2 apiece. We see Joe Chasen out there throwing. I don't know if they go to him sooner or later. You have a full moon out tonight in right field, or a couple shades to the right of right field, shining bright in the beautiful backdrop as you see the church in left field over the row of houses here in Hamilton, Ohio, and this first game of the 3-game series between the Xenia Scouts and the Hamilton Joes. It has been back and forth. Scouts doubling the Joes in hits 8-4. With 6 walks, 3 of which coming to Jackson Boyce, who's sitting on first right now, keeping them in the game.
So we'll see what Dylan Donnelly can do. Now we're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. He just walked Jackson Boyce, and now we'll be facing off with Kevin Dupree. And as we mentioned, we've seen some action out in the Scouts bullpen.
So now after 2 trips, and we see Tony Campbell now. So we've seen Joe Chasen, Tony Campbell, and Thomas Wanting all out there for the Xenia Scouts. No idea who'll be coming in next.
And they're going to check on him over at first, and Boyce is in there just in time.
Got another great pickoff attempt from Dylan Donnelly.
And that one's lined into right field for a base hit. That'll advance Boyce over to second. So runners first and second now for Andy Young.
Scouts in some serious trouble now, as the Joes are showing signs of life after last few innings. They've seemed like they've been sleepwalking a little bit, and that's going to do it for Dylan Donnelly. Joe Chasen coming to the game. Coach Case not taking any chances here in the bottom of the 7th. So Dylan Donnelly will be recorded with 6 innings of strong pitching. He records 4 strikeouts, 6 walks. That hit he just gave up to Kevin Dupree was his 5th of the ball game, and 2 earned runs. If either Jackson Boyce, who's sitting on second now, or Kevin Dupree score, they will be earned to Dylan Donnelly. So we'll see what Joe Chasen can do for the Xenia Scouts. Joe Chasen, the most used pitcher out of the pen for the team. This will be his 21st time he's made an appearance this season, so more than half of the Scouts' games. 24 2/3 innings pitching for the Scouts closer, Joe Chasen, who's coming in the bottom of the 7th inning with 2 on and no outs. Last time we saw Joe was on July 25th in the first game against the Galleon Graders, a game in which the Scouts lost in 12 innings, 5-6. Pitched well in that one. Pitched 3 innings, which was his second most of the season. Gave up 3 hits, a couple walks, and an earned run. That earned run was the one that lost the Scouts the game. But now we'll have to see what Chasen does against this hard-hitting Hamilton Joes team. Joe has faced the Joes twice this season, once at home, once on the road. And the game at home was the one that the Joes were able to come back, and he gave up that 3-run blast to Andy Young that soared over the left field wall.
And Andy Young's coming up to the plate.
And Andy Young is coming up to the plate. So we see the coincidences and the drama building. And also here at Foundation Field, he pitched 1 inning and what was a laugher of a ball game, and he went 1, 2, 3 strikeouts in that contest. So we've seen both sides of the spectrum from Joe against the Joes. One struggling, getting one of his 3 losses of the year. The first blown save for the Scouts, and then striking out the side.
So Andy Young now will come up to the plate. Runners on first and second. Nobody down. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Joe Chasen now on the mound for your Scouts, coming in relief of Dylan Donnelly.
Now it's the first hit since the 4th inning for the Joes.
First one to Young. Be in there for a called strike 1 on the outside corner.
Joe Chasen has a sidearm style of pitching. The Charger from Hillsdale College comes in today with a 5.1 ERA. 22 strikeouts to 16 walks on the season.
The 0-1. Swing and a miss, and Young, I think, actually got a piece of that, but he nonetheless will fall behind 0-2.
One of the areas that Joe has struggled in this year is hit batters. And Joe Chasen has hit a team-high 10 on the season.
Oh, 2 count to Andy Young. Runners on first and second. You're in the bottom of the 7th. The 0-2. That one's lined out towards the right field. That one will drop in for a base hit in front of Jonathan Bravo. They're going to send him home. And Wiley he's going to be safe. We're going to say Wiley didn't tag him. The Joes take a 3-2 lead, and Coach Case is going to tell him that he missed that call.
I can't believe that one. I thought Zach Wiley applied the tag. I guess Jackson Boyce just got around it and was able to touch home plate, but wow, Coach Case came sprinting out of the dugout. That's the fastest we've seen him move all season long, And now the Joes have the lead after what looks like to be a gun down from Jonathan Bravo, but the tag just wasn't applied. It's just hard to believe that all just transpired.
That wasn't a perfect throw from Bravo, but he got that one right in the vicinity of the plate. It looked like he had tagged Boyce, but apparently he just was able to shimmy around him.
Yeah, Pest Dupree at second and Young on first after RBI. Go ahead, run.
Zimmerman will pop that one out towards Levi Gilcrease. And he'll complete the catch, and luckily Dupree thought better of himself trying to advance from second.
And he faked it, and you saw Levi Gilcrease throw the ball to McJilton at short, maybe thinking if Dupree went a little too far on his fake, could flip it over to second base and get him out. And now Jake Zimmer 0 for 4 today. Came in 9 for 17 against the Scouts, and that sets up the ending double play ball for the new batter, Chad Jacob, who's 1 for 3 with 2 flyouts to center in his last 2 at-bats.
First one to Jacob. And that's going to be lined into left field for a base hit. They're going to hold Dupree up at third. And that'll now load the bases up for Hunter Owen.
And that last run, Jackson Boyce, was earned to Dylan Dolly. Was his third earned run of the day. If Kevin Dupree, who's on third right now, comes home, that would also be earned to Dylan Dolly. But now Chad Jacob 2 for 4 after that single. And Hunter Owen at the plate, the hard hitter.
First one to Owen. Tried to check his swing, but went around anyway for strike one.
Realized it was outside the zone, but it was too late. Already way more than halfway around. So a sheepish swing from Hunter Owen, wishes he had it back.
The 0-1. Another big swing and a miss from Owen. He falls behind 0-2.
Beautiful slider that time for Joe Chase and just came screaming back into the zone. A lot of movement. Would love to get his first strikeout of the game here against Hunter Owen, the 7-hitter.
And the 0-2. Thought about that one, but held up on the slider that just went outside of the zone. Makes it a 1-2 count to Owen.
Slider's so hard to hold off of because you think it's right there for you, but then it just skims off the tippy top of your bat. Good job by Hunter Owen holding off of it.
The 1-2. And that one's hit way out of play. We'll do it again at 1-2.
That time a fastball from Joe Jason, mixing it up a bit. Jason with his fastball, changeup, slider, his main 3 pitches.
The 1-2. And that one's going to hit Hunter Owen, and that one's going to bring home a run. That's the second time Hunter Owen's been hit by a pitch today.
And that's the problem when you throw a lot of sliders. Sometimes they just don't slide, and that makes it a 4-2 game. The Joes now doubling up the Scouts after the 11th hit pitcher of the year from Joe Chasen. And now Hunter Owen's been hitting back-to-back at bats, and now he has 12 times this year he's been beaten, which would lead the league.
Zach Hummel now up to the plate for the Joes. They lead 4-2. That one's in there for a called strike one.
Still see some activity in the Scouts bullpen. Tony Campbell still warming up. We do see Thomas wanting out there.
The 0-1. Swing and a miss there from Hummel. A little bit of a half-hearted swing, but nonetheless he's down 0-2.
Same type of deal we saw from Hunter Owen. He saw it sliding outside of the zone, already started swinging. Nothing he can do about it.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, and Hummel will go down on strikes.
That's the second time he's gone down on strikes today. He's 0 for 3 in the contest. First strikeout for Joe Chasen. That brings up R.J. Thompson with the bases loaded. R.J.'s 0 for 3. Popped out to short last time he was up. And this is the batter you want to face if you're the Xenia Scouts with bases loaded and 2 outs. R.J. Thompson 1 for 17 against the Navy and Gray this year.
First one to Thompson will be in there for a called strike one.
That one's a fastball right down the pipe. Jason being very aggressive after giving up the 4th run of the day to the Joes.
The 0-1. Grounds that one down the first baseline. It'll drift foul as Thompson is now behind 0-2.
And a scoring update, 5-1 in the top of the ninth now between the Settlers and Locos. So the Settlers down to the last 3 outs, or the Locos will win another one. That'll be 9 straight for the Locos if they win tonight.
The 0-2. And that one's in there for a called strike 3. First looking strikeout we've seen of the game for either side. And that'll be the end of the bottom of the 7th inning, but not before the Joes put 2 runs on the board. And they now lead by a score of 4-2 over your Xenia Scouts.
So again, the Joes strand the bases loaded. They're up to a total of 9 stranded runners in the contest, but they have a double up of the Xenia Scouts, 4-2. And again, Scouts down by 2 runs for the second time today, just like they were back in the top of the bottom of the first inning after the Joes put 2 on the board. Now, with only 6 outs left, the Scouts are going to have to bring the wood out, try to lay down the lumber against Cameron Ross, who's still on the bump. If they want to come back in this contest, and it all came after that close play at the plate where they said Zach Wiley did not apply the tag after the throw from Jonathan Bravo to Jackson Boyce, who rounded third, tried to come home in the RBI single from Andy Young. And that started off the chain of events. Who knows what might have happened if they would have called an out at home and Zimmerman flew out, would have been 2 outs, and who knows what would have happened.
So now we're getting set to start the top of the 8th inning here at Foundation Field in Hamilton, Ohio. We thank all of you for joining us here in Game 1 of the potentially a 3-game series between your Xenia Scouts and the Hamilton Joes.
Coming up here in the top of the 8th inning for the Scouts will be the 4, 5, 6 hitters, and Cale Giddings, who's 1 for 2 today. He walked last time. Zach Wiley, who's 0 for 3. And Levi Gilcrease, who's 1 for 3. Scouts need to try to get something going here against the Joes, down 4-2.
Cale Giddings now will lead it off here in the top of the 8th inning. First one to Cale. Grounds that one down towards first, but he broke his bat.
Yeah, I got a big chunk that hacked out of it. So Paul Bunyan will have to get a new axe and come back to the plate.
Cale will now get a new bat, but it's identical to the one he just broke.
I'd like to try to avoid breaking this one. We can't afford that many broken bats here at AIA. We're going to need some more support money.
The 0-1. That'll catch the outside corner for strike 2 as Cale falls behind 0-2.
Ross did have 1 strikeout at the end of the last inning, the top of the 7th. That was against David Gaunt.
The 0-2. And that one's going to be grounded back towards third, and Cale actually fouled that one off of his leg.
Might have got his foot. He's grabbing at it now, and that's definitely a sore spot for the Xenia Scouts, and us in particular, as we saw it with our roommate Miles Wright, who had a deep bone bruise in his foot against the Grand Lake Mariners that ended his Scouts season. A very similar type of at-bat to Cale Giddings, who's kind of hobbling back up to the plate. We'll do it again at 0-2 to Cameron Ross.
The 0-2 will miss way outside for ball 1-1-2, the count to Cale.
The game's probably running on adrenaline right now after fouling off his foot. That one went pretty deep into the infield off of his foot. They do have Lincoln Reed to play first base if needed.
The 1-2 is going to be grounded down towards short. And Cale will be out, as it almost looked like that might have hit off him again.
That was a very weird spot. It bounced right in front of home plate, bounced all the way to a shortstop, and Jacob puts away Cale for the second time today. And now that brings up Zach Wiley. Still trying to get his first hit of the year against the Joes. 0 for 5 against Hamilton on the season.
First one to Wiley. We'll plunk him in the back, and he'll walk to first after being hit by a pitch.
Not the most comfortable method of getting the first base, but hey, whatever works. Scouts down by 2. A hit by a pitch. This is a free base.
Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, Terry.
Yeah, and that brings up Levi Gilcrease, who's 1 for 3, has a single. He's hit 9 straight games.
That one will be into the dirt. And Wiley's going to actually get down to second. We don't see Wiley on the move too often.
No, and I thought he might take a shot at going to third base after the ball from Hummels went into center field. Neff picked it up.
That's a little much for Wiley, though. Most people on the team, potentially. For Wiley, not so much.
So are you ruling that a stolen base or a pass ball?
I think that was a pass ball because he only went once it was in the dirt.
Oh, I thought he was right on the move. Darn it, I wanted to give him a steal.
Close, but no cigar on that one.
And now in scoring position with the Scouts down 4-2 for Levi Gilcrease.
The 1-0. Swing and a miss there. I see got a foul tip on it. 1-1 the count.
Again, Cameron Ross. That's one of the hardest fastballs on this Hamilton Joes team. Why we see him relief so many times. Why we see him in the closing role for the Joes.
The 1-1. This is outside, 2-1. The count now to Levi Gilcrease comes to us from Baylor University, originally from Tampa, Florida.
Dad played double A ball for the Kansas City Royals. His mom was a professional tennis player.
The 2-1. Misses low and into the dirt. Makes it a 3-1 count to Gilcrease. And, of course, you mentioned his bloodlines. His brother also played baseball at USF and is one of the coaches for the Xenia Scouts.
Standing over there on first base, a former Scout himself, Zach Gilcrease.
The 3-1. Catches the outside corner for a called strike 2. That'll be a full count, 3-2 to Levi Gilcrease.
And that's perfect placement from Cameron Ross there. Just brought his brush out to nail it on the outside corner. Now full count for Levi.
The 3-2. Swing and a miss, and Gilcrease will go down on strikes once again.
Second time Levi struck out today. First time against Cameron Ross in his first at bat against Ross, and that brings up Wyatt Hogan, the lone scout who hasn't faced the fireball righty from the University of Cincinnati, Cameron Ross. Wyatt Hogan has a chance to try to cut into this 4-2 Joe's lead. The Scouts are down to their last 4 outs of the game.
Wyatt Hogan now up to the plate. First one to him. Misses outside for ball 1. Wyatt comes to us from Hendrix College in Arkansas. He's originally from California. The 1-0. That one just misses for ball 2. 2-0 the count to Hogan. The 2-0. And that one's lined right back up the middle, but a nice stop there from Ross. He'll flip that one over to first himself for out number 3.
Yeah, another well-hit ball from Wyatt Hogan yet again, getting unlucky. The quick reflexes from Cameron Ross. That one might have gone right back up the middle. And now we're heading to the bottom of the 8th. Scouts down to the last 3 outs, still down 4-2 as we see if the Joes can add any more insurance runs.
And we're going to see Joe Chasen out there on the hill once again, and we're going to see Kale getting stay down at first base after fouling one off of himself in his last at-bat.
Coming up for the Joes here in the bottom of the 8th inning, it's the top of the order for the 5th time today. Daniel Neff, who's 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. Jackson Boyce, who's 0 for 1 with 3 walks, so 5 of the 6 walks from Dylan Donnelly came to the 1-2 batters. And then Kevin Dupree, who is 2 for 4 today, has been on 3 of the 4 times, is in the hole. He singled and came around to score after he came home when Hunter Owen was hit by a pitch in the bottom of the 7th inning. As they mentioned, Joe Chasen coming back to the rubber. He gave up 2 runs in his first inning of work. Neither of those earned to him. All 4 runs in today's contest earned to today's starter, Dylan Donnelly.
I see some people out in the Scouts bullpen, but no one is up and throwing, so kind of think that they at least go through this 8th inning with Joe Chase as long as he can keep everything under control.
And it's over in Simmons Field after 2 hours and 6 minutes of baseball. The Lima Locals beat the Licking County Sellers 5-1 to win their 9th straight. 1-0 over the Sellers in their 3-game series. The Sellers 1 loss away from not being able to repeat as 4-time champions.
First one to Neffel. Showman lays it down that third base line. It'll just drift into foul territory for strike 1.
Neff with the speed, a couple of stolen bases we've seen today, 20 on the year. If he lays down a well-placed bunt, it's going to be very hard to get him out at first.
Neff definitely taking his time walking back to home plate.
Joe chasing with 2 straight strikeouts. The 8 and 9 batter, Zach Hummel and R.J. Thompson, he got looking.
Yeah, 1. Misses up and away for ball 1-1 when the count to Neff, the center fielder from Millersville University.
That was the first ball we've seen since the 7-hitter Hunter Owen.
The 1-1. That one's lined up the middle, right in front of Levi Gilcrease for a base hit off the bat of Neff, his first hit of the day.
And the third hit given up by Joe Chasen. Now we have to see if Neff will be on the move. You got to think that's on the mind of Zach Wiley. He's already stolen twice in today's contest. And let's see what happens to Jackson Boyce at the plate. The lefty has been walked 3 straight times, all those from Dylan Donnelly.
And they'll check on Neff, and that one's actually going to bounce away from Cale Giddings at first. And at one point, Neff thought he was going to advance, but thought wiser of it.
Now about pretty far away from the first baseman. Didn't look like the foul ball off his foot limited his mobility chasing that ball. Probably a wise decision from Neff not trying to go to second base.
Still waiting on the first pitch to Jackson Boyce, and they're going to throw back over to first at Neff. Again, he's in there in time. First one to Boyce. Neff fakes the steal. That'll be inside to Boyce for ball 1.
And all 3 catchers for this team, David Gaunt, Lincoln Reed, and today's player behind the plate, Zach Wiley, with hoses for right arms and has the ability to throw out anyone in the league.
The 1-0. Neff fakes the steal again as that one misses outside for ball 2 to Boyce.
I bet Neff wish he was going on that one as Zach Wiley had to reach all the way to his left to catch it. Would have been in a good position to try to throw out the speedster, Neff. And he'll stay over there at first base, wondering if he's going to be on the move on this pitch.
2-0. Neff on the move this time. They drop down the bunts. They're just going to have to see if they can go over to first. And he's going to be safe at first on the bunt from Jackson Boyce. They now will have runners on first and second with nobody down.
And Coach Bowie Case now going to give his 2 cents to the infield umpire after Jackson Boyce was ruled safe at first base. Cale Giddings couldn't believe it. It was a big throw from Joe Chase, who also can't believe it. And now will be runners on first and second with no outs here in the bottom of the 8th inning after the bunt single from Boyce. His first hit of the day. He's been on 4 straight times.
And Coach Cates definitely giving him an earful out in that infield. For good reason.
And now I'll bring up Kevin Dupree, who is 2 for 4 today. He's singled in his last at-bat. Seems like both close calls that we've seen have gone the way of the Hamilton Joes here at Foundation Field. And Coach Case, I think, thinks that as well, and he's letting the umpires let him know his opinion on the calls.
Coming Dupree now up to the plate with nobody down, runners on first and second. First one will miss outside for ball one. The 1-0. Just in there for a called strike one, and now Wiley's going to have a quick chat between him and Joe Chasen.
And Dupree didn't think that one was a strike, telling the home plate umpire that now, but he has got to realize that on that slider is where the ball crosses the plate. It did and kind of low and away, but when it crosses the plate in the zone, that's what Joe Chasen builds his bread and butter on.
The 1-1. Just misses up high. Makes it a 2-1 count to Dupree, the first baseman from Middle Tennessee State.
Dupree only played in 2 games against the Scouts this year. Didn't see him much at that point of the season in the Joe's lineup.
The 2-1. Each guy on the move, and Wiley's going to actually lose the ball. So each of them will be safe on the double steal.
We've seen that problem a number of times this year with Zach Wiley having trouble getting the ball out of his mitt after catching on steal attempts. So a double steal, and that's the 3rd steal of the day for Daniel Neff. And the 18th of the year for Jackson Boyce.
The 3-1. That one's hit right back on a line to Cale Giddings, and he'll get under it for the first out of the inning.
And Kalen does a wise move, looks off both Jackson Boyce at second, Daniel Neff at third, making sure they're not trying to steal home or tag up and try to come across without his knowledge, and heads up play by Giddings after catching the liner.
And they are going to intentionally walk Andy Young to get to Jake Zimmerman. And earlier in the game, I would have said, okay, there's no way you do that, but the way Zimmerman's been swinging the bat today might not be the worst idea.
And especially since Andy Young had that RBI single in his last at-bat. And that one was against Joe Chasen. Young was the first batter that Chasen faced. So I said earlier, you probably won't see many intentional walks against the Hamilton Joes. But, well, we're seeing one right now here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And that does set up, most importantly, the inning-ending double play ball. This will be the second walk for Andy Young, who's had a killer game. He is 2 for 3, and now with 2 walks, he's been on 4 out of 5 times. Now that brings up the struggling, all of a sudden, Jake Zimmerman, who came in today batting .390 on the year through 35 games with the Joes. After we're going to have a meeting at the mound of Joe Chasen. Neff on third, Jackson Boyce on second, the 2 fastest players on this Hamilton team. And now Andy Young, the third baseman, on first. Scouts desperately could use a double play ball to get out of this bases loaded jam. Joe Chasen had bases loaded back in the bottom of the 7th inning, and he hit Hunter Owen, and that brought home a run, and then was able to strike out the next 2 batters to get himself out of that predicament and leave the bases stranded. As Coach Case on the bump giving some instruction to his infield. Scouts down 4-2, only have 3 outs left. They have the top half of the 9th inning, try to get back in this contest. With only 2 runs scored on the game and down by 2, can't afford to give up any more runs, and that's going to be quite a big mountain to climb to get back in this contest and avoid losing to the Joes for the 5th straight game.
Bases are loaded for Jake Zimmerman. First one to him. Swing in a miss for strike 1.
Jake Zimmerman was first pitch swinging against Chasen in round 1 back in the bottom of the 7th inning. That flew out to Levi Gilcrease in center.
And time will be called as Wiley, I think, says he wants to go through the signals again. The 0-1. That one will miss up high for ball 1-1 on the count to Jake Zimmerman. The DH comes from Otterbein College, transferred from Ohio Dominican. The 1-1. And that one's hit out towards right field. Bravo will come in and catch that one, but they're going to send home a run. And he's going to be safe at the plate, and Neff is going to score on the sac fly from Zimmerman, and now the Joes have a 5-2 lead.
Anyone else on the team, and they're gunned out at home plate, but Daniel Neff, the leadoff hitter, the speedy marauder from Millersville, tags up and scores, so a sac fly for Zimmerman. It wasn't hit that well to shallow right field. Good throw from Jonathan Bravo, just so fast at third base is Daniel Neff. And that's what that double steal does for the Joes, who now lead 5-2.
So Chad Jacob up to the plate with 2 down here in the bottom of the 8th.
Single in his last at-bat.
First one to Jacob. That one's going to be chopped down towards Christian Binger at second. I'm going to get that one over to first in time. We're out number 3, but not before the Joes tack on another run. And now the Scouts trail by a score of 5-2 as they enter the top half of the 9th inning. And this could be all she wrote here in game 1 if the Scouts don't put up some runs.
Now 13 runners left on by the Joes, and that's a big, big number, but it doesn't really matter. The Scouts can't give any more run support. We saw the Scouts put 14 on the board yesterday in the playoff game against the Grand Lake Mariners, a win-and-go-home situation. It was nothing but solid plate appearances for the Xenia Scouts, but they've been stifled today. They've had 8 hits on the afternoon, the same amount as the Hamilton Joes, but they can't get anyone at the plate, as it looks like we're going to have a pitching change. As it looks like Chase Thurston is coming into the game, the all-star pitcher for the Hamilton Joes. I sat behind home plate at Prasco Park in that all-star game, a game in which the Scouts and Joes were actually teammates. And Chase Thurston was one of the most impressive pitchers that afternoon. He leads the league with 5 saves on the year, has a 4.11 ERA through 19 2/3 innings pitched. He's a Panther from Eastern Illinois University, another righty from Danville, Illinois, 5'11", 180 pounds, not the biggest guy in the world. And that 1 inning of pitch in the All-Star game, he went 1, 2, 3 and had a strikeout. He has pitched against the Scouts this year once. That was in the 7-6 victory against the Scouts, in which the Joes came back and he pitched in the bottom of the 9th inning and got 2 strikeouts, only faced 4 Scouts batters, didn't give up a hit, and got one of his 5 saves on the year back at Grady's Field in Xenia, Ohio. He has a chance to get another save tonight against the Xenia Scouts. Chase Thurston, kind of like we just saw from Cameron Rice, expect a lot of fastballs on the spectrum right down the middle.
So now Jake McJoden coming up to the plate to start things off here in the top half of the 9th inning. Scouts trail by a score of 5-2 to these Hamilton Joes here in game 1 of the playoffs. Now it's going to be chopped down towards Dupree at first. He's going to flip that one over to Thurston in time for out number 1.
McJilton, first pitch swinging, is retired. Scouts down their last 2 outs of the ball game.
Luckily, the guy who's involved in every single late game heroic moment, Christian Binger, will have a chance to come up to the plate after Bravo. First one to Bravo. That one's popped right over our heads for strike 1.
Jonathan Bravo, last at bat was on top of the 7th inning, tried to lay down a bunt, was unable to do so in his first 2 pitches, then lined one for a single to left field.
The 0-1. Catches the outside corner for a called strike 2 as Bravo falls behind 0-2, and he's fallen behind 0-2 every single time he's came out to the plate. And the 0-2. This is up high for ball 1, 1-2 the count to Bravo.
Christian Binger on deck, as Lance mentioned. He grounded into a double play in his last at-bat, but struggling tonight. Does have one walk.
The 1-2. Miss up high again. It makes it a 2-2 count to Bravo. Comes from Texas Wesleyan.
As Thurston is trying to get that breaking ball to cut back into the zone, but hasn't had any break in his last 2 pitches.
The 2-2. Thought about that one, but holds up as that one, I think, actually bounced off of the plate. Makes it a 3-2 count to Bravo, full count.
A good check from Jonathan Bravo. Way to work back from 0-2 to a full count. Let's see what the 9-batter Jonathan Bravo can do as the Scouts try to rally here in the top of the 9th inning.
The 3-2. That one's popped out just towards second base. And Boyce is going to get under that one for the second out of the inning. Scouts down to their last out, and Christian Binger will come to the plate.
It is a guy who wanted the plate when you need base runners. Christian Binger leads the team in on-base percentage coming into today. Was on in 12 straight at-bats. Struggled today, though. He's 0 for 3 with a walk and is struck out and ground to a double play.
First one to Binger will catch the outside corner for called strike 1.
Again, these 2 teams will play tomorrow at 7:05 at Grady's Field.
The 0-1. That one's going to be popped back out of play. He falls behind 0-2. Scouts down to their last strike here in game 1. One-two count to Christian Binger with 2 down. Here in the top of the 9th, Scouts trail 5-2. The 0-2. That one's actually going to bounce in front of the plate. Makes it a 1-2 count to Binger. One and 2 count to Christian Binger. The 1-2. That one stays up high. 2-2. The count now to Bing. And the 2-2. That one's going to be grounded back just into fair territory, and that'll be all she wrote here in game 1 of the playoffs between the Xenia Scouts and the Hamilton Joes. That means it'll be do or die tomorrow at Grady's Field for your Xenia Scouts.
It seems like there's always just an empty feeling left in your stomach after losses to the Hamilton Joes. It seems like the Scouts fought their way back in it when it was tied 2-2. They had all the momentum, and then that play at the plate where Zach Wiley looked like he might have applied the tag to Jackson Boyce was really Jackson was able to electric slide his way around it and able to touch the dish and score the 3-2 run. And Coach Case was very upset about that. We saw him argue with the home plate umpire, and we saw another play, a close play at first base that was ruled in the Joes' favor, and you just kind of left with that sinking feeling as the Joes once again best the Xenia Scouts, this time by a score of 5-2. This is the least amount of runs the Scouts have scored on the Joes all season long. The 3-headed monster of Schraffenberger, Ross, and Thurston really did their job tonight. This is only the second inning that the Scouts did not leave a runner on base. They have 8 stranded today. Jake McJilton will be our player of the game as we wait for him here at the top of the Hamilton Joes press box. He'll have to climb the ladder, get up here, and Lance is just it's a tough loss for the Scouts again. Is there any way they can solve the Rubik's Cube, which has been the Hamilton Joes and their 5 wins against the Scouts this season?
Well, today they played about as well as they could, all things considered. You hold the Joes to 8 total hits, a lot of them coming in the last couple innings. And if you held the Joes to right around 8 or less total hits, you're doing a pretty good job against the Joes. But walks came back to bite them. Dylan Donnelly had 6 of those walks today, and It was just a few too many. We saw a couple hit by pitches as well, and just allowed too many base runners to get on against these Hamilton Joes, and that'll be the 5th time these Scouts fall to the Joes, and like we said earlier, it'll be do or die tomorrow at Grady's Field.
So 2 runs for the Joes to start off this game in the bottom of the 2nd. They were scoreless for a long time. Dylan Donnelly did pitch a gem, struggled at the end of the ball game as he gave up those 2 runs. Well, he didn't technically give them up. They were earned to Dylan Donnelly back in the bottom of the 7th inning after Joe Chasen came in for relief. So 4 earned runs is lower than what Dylan Donnelly is used to this year, more runs than he's used to, but against the Hamilton Joes, who score at an absolute torrid pace, not a bad outing, all things considered, but now the Scouts down to their last loss of the season. They'll be back at home at Grady's Field tomorrow night, where they're 1-0 in the playoffs after winning 14-2 yesterday. And we'll have to try to find some way to beat the Hamilton Joes, who have been, wouldn't be a thorn in the side of the Scouts, be a thorn over their entire bodies, as there's just been nothing the Scouts have been able to do to beat the Joes. Joes finished this season ranked 2nd in the Great Lakes League. The Lima Locust finished 1st, and the 1 and 2 teams both got victories tonight. And both of those teams scored 5 runs. The Lima Locust won against the Licking County Sailors by a score of 5-1, and the Hamilton Joes beat the Xenia Scouts by a score of 5-2. I'd like to thank everyone at home listening around the country for listening to Lance Morris and myself, Terry Lash. Hopefully you join us again tomorrow at 7:05 for game number 2 of what we hope to be a 3-game series, as Jake McJilton is coming up for our player of the game. He'll come over and take over my headset.
And we got Jake McChilton on the headset. This is a little new for Jake. It's only his 2nd game with the team. Terry's going to figure out what he's doing with the camera, and he's just going to hold it. So, Jake, you had a great game yesterday. We weren't able to talk to you yesterday, so we'll rewind back to tomorrow. Yesterday, your first game with the club this season. How did it feel to be back on the diamond after going with the team to the DR?
Well, it was just great. I mean, I love playing the game. I'm glad God gave me the opportunity to be out here playing ball. Just happy to see y'all need another shortstop.
And last night you went 3 for 3, couple sack bunts. When you came to the plate, were those sack bunts your idea, or was that a call from the coach?
It was a call from the coach, yeah. Just get the bunt down against the runner.
And you did a great job of that yesterday. And today you started off hot again. You got a base hit for an RBI. What was going through your mind up there at the plate?
I just wanted to get the ball out of the infield, let the runner try to make a play at home,
And you did another good job. You had a fly out later on, but got another hit that just barely wasn't able to be grabbed by Chad Jacob. What was your reaction when you saw it somehow got past him?
Oh, yeah, I'm just glad it went through. I mean, it happened a couple times yesterday, too. Get lucky bounces.
Some lucky bounces. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as we saw yesterday and today. So what was the kind of atmosphere in the dugout as things were just going along through the game?
I mean, obviously, we were fighting pretty hard. It was tied most of the game, and then they came back with those couple late-inning runs, and obviously we wanted to put up a couple more ourselves, just couldn't get it done.
And this is a team that the Scouts have been struggling against all season. Do you think there's any magical key that you guys can find a way to unlock that door tomorrow?
We just got to out-hit them,
We just got to out-hit them. That is a direct quote from Jake Majone. Remember that tomorrow. And if the Scouts out-hit them, they will win the game. Nonetheless, Jake, great job today. We'll now get Terry Lash back on the headset as we figure out what to do with our camera.
Try to get this finagled on top of my laptop. I don't know how successful. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Not too bad. So Terry, Scouts fall today by a score of 5-2. It's do or die tomorrow at Grady's Field.
Yeah, and they have to find some way to beat the Hamilton Joes or the season's over. That's it. It is tomorrow or bust for the Xenia Scouts. And you got to think, the Xenia Scouts don't want the season to end altogether, but especially against the team that has been the biggest problem for them all season long, has caused them the biggest heartache. And again tonight, 2-2 going to the bottom of the 7th inning. All seems right in the world, and all of a sudden the wheels fall off for the Scouts. It just has been a rough year here at Foundation Field. The Scouts now 0-3 at Foundation.
So the Scouts fall again to the Hamilton Joes 5th time this season, 3rd time here at Foundation Field. We'll be back at home tomorrow at Grady's Field for what could be the last Xenia Scouts game this season. They're just going to have to fight tooth and nail to have a chance to come right back here to Foundation Field here in a couple days. So we'll talk to you tomorrow at Grady's Field. Thank you, and God bless.